Hello, welcome back to the afternoon session here, round 2 of the 2020 FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships, emanating from the south of England in Lydd, where over the lunch break we've seen the weather turn dramatically. The track is now wet, the rain is starting to fall outside, and with an afternoon session and riders completely new to this wet circuit, it's going to make a lot of exciting racing.
Yeah, absolutely. The track conditions take an absolute change over the winter, over the lunch break rather, as you can see on screen at the moment. So yeah, so very different conditions for these riders. No one has actually had proper wet track time this weekend, so it'll be very interesting to see how these riders cope with the varying conditions. Looks like we've got a limited amount of riders out on the grid for this race, not a full Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team grid at the moment. You see Charlie King there just lining, Jamie King there just lining up onto the grid, and looks like we're having someone start from pit lane there. That's I believe that the number is it 131 of Iona Glover. So that's one of the riders starting from pit lane there. As you can see, not many riders on the grid at the moment. Jamie King, there on the grid with the and also the number 67 there of Callum Wybro also on the grid. You can see a rider just in the far corner of the screen trying to get their bike started. Perhaps some issues with their bike in the wet conditions. A few more riders coming around to join the grid now, so we might see a bit more of a packed grid. No Charlie Nesbitt in this race. He's we can see him in the cafe, so he won't be joining this race, and it looks like there is no Brad Ray joining this race either. So there's number 576 of Chris Wells joining the grid now, so that's one more rider for this race, but it's going to be very difficult conditions, Gareth, as we were just trying to distinguish what tyres these guys were running just before the grid. The gate's been closed now, pit lane, so no more riders can enter the grid. There's 2 riders still coming around the track yet to join the grid. Iona Glover, like we mentioned earlier, and another rider set to join the grid any minute now. So this looks like this will be our grid for the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team riders. Doesn't look like we have any Moto Team riders actually here. There's one of the they're all watching MotoGP currently in the cafe, it looks like. So right at the back of the grid you can see the British Talent Cup leathers there. That's either Cameron Horseman or Harvey Claridge. I'm not sure which one at the moment. So yeah, very depleted grid for this Pit Bike 140 grid. I don't think there's any Moto Team riders actually on this grid, so it's just the Pit Bike 140s we have to focus on at the moment, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of riders electing to ignore us. We've got, in fact, there we go, out to do come some Motor Team riders. So
that did look like Will Howarth coming out of the pit lane there. I think you can recognise the black Alpine style leather. So a few more riders let out of pit lane now. So we will have a few more riders on the grid. A good few coming around now on wet weather tyres.
Yeah, and as you say, a lot of riders, we had to we're desperately trying to find a good camera angle to find out what these guys are running, because there's the potential. Of course, it's a very greasy circuit. It's not quite puddling. We've not got to that stage. We can see the clouds coming over and the rain is definitely starting to increase, but of course a lot of riders out there on these cut slicks still, and especially if you look perhaps a greasy surface we saw in the senior mini motos earlier when they had that rain affected race, that it's all about finding the grip, and especially on curbs out here, the curbs will become the slickest part of the circuit. So we've seen a lot of these sort of PB 140 riders and the motor teams using the curbing, but obviously now that's the last place you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Those curbs will be very slippy now with these wet weather conditions. You might see some of the riders trying to run them. I'm sure if Charlie Nesbitt and Brad Ray were running in this race, they'd give it a go and just to feel where the grip is. But it's definitely something you're going to have a bit of a feel for as the riders get underway. We think they're going to be having a warm-up lap to suss out these conditions. So possibly a few warm-up laps for these guys to have a look at the track conditions and find out where the grip is before they start this race.
Yep, 16 on the grid so far, and as you say, everyone just going out for a little bit of a sighter. Very tricky conditions now out on the track surface. You can see the skies have darkened, the clouds are rolling in, and the rain is starting to fall. And yeah, as we've alluded to, it's all about finding the grip, and riders out there very tentatively making their way around the circuit. It's yeah, I would imagine this one, much like the Senior Mini Motos earlier, could go anywhere, because we saw many making mistakes, and as we said earlier in the stream, no one's used to this wet circuit yet, so no one's really got any practice. No one really knows where the grip is. No one really knows where the wet line is. So yeah, this one is going to be a fascinating watch.
No, some of the more experienced riders like Jamie King on the grid there, and Will Howarth, that will have experienced the wet track here last year, where we did have some wet weather at Lydd last year. They will have some experience around this track in the wet, but that was a full year ago, so none of these other riders will properly know where the grip is and where the grip isn't, more importantly.
Yeah, absolutely so. But it is Will Howarth that has the clearest run down to turn 1, and he will be looking at picking up
looks
another
like
good run.
Another rider who's not going to start the race, but yeah, like you were saying, all eyes to the flag as Jamie King gets a brilliant start there to take the lead, so he'll be leading the Pit Bike 140 race and leading the race overall. Will Howarth in a second position overall at the moment, but he's leading your Moto Team race at the moment. You could just see him dropping a leg into the chicane there, trying to find where the grip is, trying to feel how slippy this circuit is, and just making sure. You can see him dropping a leg there as well, just trying to find the grip at the moment. Doesn't look like they've got a hell of a lot of grip out there at the moment, not running a lot of lean angle, and just struggling to find where that grip is, but the race is long, and these guys will be able to find where that grip is. You see Jamie King doing a brilliant job of finding where the grip is, and we already have a crash down there. That's the rider down, just going onto the back straight. I believe that was the number 14, was it, of Tom Whedon. So I think that was Tom Whedon down. A very unfortunate end to the race. It looks like he's trying to get started and back out onto this grid. One rider climbing up through the field is the British Talent Cup runner-up from last year. That's the number 16. I believe that's Harvey Claridge out there at the moment with the British Talent Cup leathers.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic start out there for Jamie King, streaking away, much more experienced in these conditions. You can see almost this mammoth lead that he's already pulled out in the opening laps here, and behind you saw Will Howarth struggling to get grip and using the foot, using the leg for balance, and as you say, sussing out where those grip levels are. The guys out on the Moto Team bikes seem to be having a little bit more of an issue than the Pit Bike 140s, and yeah, the man that's making the most of it is your race leader Jamie King, who is already exiting turn 2 before the second place rider gets into turn 1.
So it is Cameron Horseman in second place behind Jamie King. Now Rossi Banham making his way up from the back of the grid, is up into third place. He actually hasn't seen this track at all this weekend yet. This is his second session actually of the weekend, having only been let into the races today. So that's brilliant stuff from Rossi Banham, down currently in 9th place.
Yeah, absolutely so. And yeah, it's been a great start for Horseman there in second. You can see he's got a big gap between himself and Callum Wybrow in 4th place, with Rossi Banham in 3rd. Behind, as I said, it's a much smaller field that have elected a lot of riders, I imagine, protecting their bikes from the elements as the rain is starting to come down heavier and heavier with each lap. So when you're in this position, the track is evolving, it's devolving, it's getting worse and worse. So almost every lap is a new adventure for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're trying to find where the grip levels are, as we've been saying. You could just see some of the riders there venturing out onto the curbs, trying to see how slippy they are, but whilst they're trying to find where the grip is, as the rain is coming down harder and harder, like you were saying, there's going to be less and less grip out there, so expect to see the times dropping as the session goes on, as these guys will be suffering from less and less grip as this race goes on and the rain gets harder and harder for this race.
Yep, but it is still Jamie King that leads this one comfortably up the road from anyone else, and just driving away, and yeah, really strong. So I've got a faller down at turn 12.
I believe that was one of the Moto Team riders, but couldn't quite make out who that was there, crashing out of the Moto Team race there. Very unfortunate end to the race for that rider. But another of the Moto Team riders there, that is the number 8 of Jason Pugh, doing really well up into 3rd place overall in this race, and now leading the Moto Team race with, as it seems, we have missing our championship leader. Will Howarth doesn't seem to be showing up on our timing screens at the moment, so I have to find out what happened to him. Just looking at the number 67 now, that's Callum Wybrow, just being overtaken now by Iona Glover, who's having a really good race for her up into 6th place. That'll be her best result of the weekend by a long shot.
Yeah, absolutely, and Iona was doing really well in race 1 this morning as well, and yesterday was towards the back and being lapped, but today really seems to have turned it on, has got used to the circuit, as you say, moving right through the field and seemingly enjoying these conditions. And it's the same case of anyone on 2 wheels or 4 wheels. Some riders, some drivers prefer these wet conditions. They feel a lot more comfortable, they find the grip a lot easier, and clearly Iona Glover is one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some riders go really well in the wet conditions and have got a really good bike feel for where the grip is and how to go fast in wet conditions. So Iona Glover, obviously one of those who's really enjoying the wet conditions, as is Jamie King out front, doing a tremendous job to pick up his first win of this year, if all stays like this. Cameron Horseman doing a great job in 2nd place then, and Jason Pugh in 3rd place overall, but leading this Moto Team race. You can see him there on screen, the number 8 bike there, the more GP style looking bike, the number 8 with the red background, just leading this race and this Moto Team race in 3rd place overall in this race. That would of course mean Anderson in 4th place. He's 3rd place in the Pit Bike 140 race, so just something to keep an eye on with these 2 races running in one race.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Pugh doing a good job in 3rd place at the moment, having to fend off Darren Anderson on the Pit Bike 140. So Pugh holding on to a podium place at the moment, whilst they're behind, they're being closed in by Iona Glover. So she's not, she's well in with a chance of picking up at the moment a podium. She's only a couple of seconds off of it at the moment, so that'd be a remarkable change in fortunes. We've seen a couple of riders go down at turn 12, not just today, but across the entirety of this weekend. So turn 12 turning out so far this weekend to be probably the problem corner for most riders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fast corner. There's not really a corner where you're getting weight onto either side of the bike. You're quite neutral through it, and you'll have a progressive throttle going through that, so it's quite easy. The bike can stay quite light, and you quite easily lose the rear from putting all the power down in the rear of the bike. And so yeah, very really unfortunate to see riders go down there, and it's definitely one they need to be careful of. It looks like now we've got a problem for Jason Pugh, who is running in 3rd place in this race, and that's giving another place to Iona Glover. So that's your Moto Team leader now out of this race. Perhaps all the rain causing some technical issues on that Moto Team bike, so not the end to the race that he wanted.
No, absolutely not, and I believe that promotes Phil Joyce up in the Moto Team class as well, and he's currently running in 8th on circuit. Rossi Banham circulating in 7th. You can see frustration there out on circuit for Jason Pugh. He realised that he was in a really strong position, and you can see the rain really starting to come down now. There's yellow flags out on the circuit.
I believe that's Rossi Banham down as well, the rider who just turned up today to be able to ride, and unfortunately he's gone out of this one as well. He was doing very well to find the grip in these conditions, but unfortunately was caught out by these slippery conditions. Quick check on Iona Glover then, up into 3rd place now, so now going to enjoy her first podium of this year. Iona Glover up into 3rd place, number 134 on the Pit Bike 140. Brilliant stuff from her, and equally Darren Anderson will be picking up his first podium if all stays like this as well.
Yeah, we've got 2 laps left to go in this one, and it's been an absolutely magnificent run for Jamie King.
It looks like Cameron Horseman's dropping down the order now, so I think we've possibly had some form of problem for Cameron Horseman, possibly a technical issue for him as we see him dropping down the order at the moment.
Yeah, but it's just as you can say, it's almost a battle royale here. People just trying to stay out there on circuit and hold on to the position. We've got 1 lap left to go, and it's Jamie King leading this one. Comfortable margin almost 25 seconds over Darren Anderson in second place. Iona Glover, fantastic run for her so far. She's up to third with Callum Wybrow in fourth place. Phil Joyce moving up into fifth.
There we see Dan Anderson now coming round the final corner to that's the number 67, Callum Wybrow coming across the final. We see the checker flag, number 76, Jamie King takes his first win of the year. Expect to see some more from him. He's well versed on the pit bike 140s and a name we're very much familiar with. Jamie King takes the win then ahead of Darren Anderson, who's set to be coming around the final corner any minute now. Philip Joyce will take the win in the Moto team. You can see him there, the number 119. Unfortunate scenes for the number 8 of Jason Pugh there. Will Howarth again picking up 20 points in the Moto team championship, so a decent ride for him considering a damage limitation, we'll call it, for this round.
Yeah, absolutely so, and a huge congratulations goes out to the 134 rider Iona Glover, who picks up a podium, the unlikeliest if you'd seen yesterday's results, and she absolutely came alive in today's wet conditions, and the track is really starting to become particularly treacherous now. You can see it's completely changed even since the start of the race. It's standing water puddles now starting to form on the circuit, and she did a fantastic job to come home and pick up her debut penalty. But it is the man Jamie King that takes the race win in the PB 140. He finishes a comfortable 22 seconds up the road from Darren Anderson. Iona Glover, the 134, in third place. Karen Wybrow in fourth. Phil Joyce in the Moto team bike is your class winner, with Will Howarth only able to come in sixth. Roger Monks in the PB40 in seventh. Cameron Horseman, Jason Pugh, Rossi Banham rounding out the top 10 in a particularly tricky race. A lot of these riders not used to these conditions went out and gave it a go, and riders like Iona Glover, like Darren Anderson, starting well down the order. Perfect job for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the wet weather always brings some surprises. It's great to see Jamie King getting his first win, and two riders there, Darren Anderson and Iona Glover, getting their first podiums of this year. Philip Joyce will be delighted with his first win in the Moto team class this year, so brilliant to see some different names on the podiums, and really exciting and enjoyable racing from these treacherous conditions. Moving on then, coming up next is the MK Gp50s. This is, as we've said many times this weekend, the first taste that young hot talent have at racing a geared bike, and now they've got a different challenge set for them as they have to tackle the wet weather conditions around this Lydd kart race circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. These riders all looking at being that next star in British motorcycle racing, and what a better place to start than in FAB-Racing, and of course the 2020 Minibike British Championships, and this is the second round of the season. Second round, the first one was yesterday, a bumper weekend of action, and these younger drivers now out on track for the first time in very tricky conditions. You can see, not like what we saw in the last race, where you saw several different riders opting for different tyres. You can see everyone out there on those full cut wet tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. All these riders will be running the Mitas wet tyres, which I've been told give a good amount of grip for these MK GP50 machines. So this being race 3 for the MK GP50 machines. So their first race today was won by Mason Foster. I think we might see a very different story in this race, with unknown territory for all of these riders and for us. So any of these riders could win this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is sort of that double-edged sword with wet weather racing, is that it gives the opportunity for those further down the field to really attack. And so it's a really good chance for maybe some of those riders that have qualified outside of top 5 to really push and maybe make use of a stronger wet weather pace compared to some of these riders up the front that are possibly protecting a championship position after the first day. And yeah, it's going to really open up this race for the MK Gp50s.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your riders at the front, Ronnie Harris, Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks, those riders were going to be looking to stay on the bikes, making sure they finish and get some points for the championship. So yeah, these guys, we expect to see them at the front because we know they are talented riders, but they can't throw away too much in this race. There's no point having a DNF in a race like this. This championship is long and there's many more races to go. All eyes to the flag then as they get underway on their warm-up lap, as they just go to suss out where the grip is and where the grip isn't for ahead of this race.
Yeah, absolutely so. And yep, the race control just giving these riders a chance of going out there and just sussing out, as you say, where the racing lines should be. And of course, it's a new venture for these guys, and I'm sure some of them are probably pretty excited, others are probably dreading it. So, but it will be Mason Foster lining up on pole position with Ethan Sparks in second, Ronnie Harris in third, Sam Munton in fourth, with Ollie Horner back in fifth place, Clayton Edmonds in sixth, Cameron Saul in seventh, with Jacob Stevenson in eighth, Blake Wilson in ninth, Ollie Sims in 10th place, Warwick Brady back in 11th, Philip Suriak in 12th, and Isaiah Devine in 13th, and Dominic Gardner lining up in 14th position.
So a packed grid for these guys, 14 riders on this grid, all set to learn their way around gearbox racing on their wet weather tyres. A lot of these riders may not have even ridden these bikes in the wet before, so a lot of learning going on this grid, and it'd be brilliant to see how these guys get on with these conditions. It'll also be useful for the likes of Mason Foster, Ethan Sparks, who have races in other championships later on, to get some experience in the wet weather and feel whereabouts the grip is and isn't on this racetrack. So brilliant opportunity for all these lads to learn, and also should bring some great wet weather races. Always brings some surprises, it does the wet weather, so we're eager and ready to get this race started. Mason Foster is then, you can see the number 88 just looking behind him, lining up on pole position, and eager to get this race started, having picked up a win earlier on today.
Absolutely so, as the riders line up on the grid ready for this one, and we'll see who's got that grip off of the line down into the quick chicane to open up the lap. So yep, it's going to be Mason Foster on the pole with the clear run, and of course alongside him Ethan Sparks will be looking at another decent result for something that he's picked up quite a number of so far this weekend. And we'll see, cautious, nervous, that might be the first lap here, but we're about to get going. Engine notes rising as the riders look to the lights, and off the line it looks as though it's a good start for Ronnie Harris, straight up from third into the lead of this one. You can see everyone incredibly tentatively through the first two corners, but great start from Ronnie Harris, straight up from third to first in the race.
Really good job for all these guys to get through that initial starting process all in one piece now. So all these guys have now got to settle, find out where the grip is. They've had the formation lap and a warm-up lap to get a quick feel for what's going on here, but now is where they're really going to have to try and push their limits and find the grip here around this circuit. Number 72 there, just in shot, that's Samuel Munson. He's had some good results this weekend, in a rider you can expect to see up at the sharp end of this race. But as always, wet weather throws up some surprises in this race. Ronnie Harris then leading, he's picked up a win yesterday. Mason Foster, we know how quick he is, and Ethan Sparks currently in third, and we have a rider down there. I think that is not good. That's the number 67 just being caught up in that crash there. That's Jacob Stevenson, unfortunately being caught up in another rider's crash there, so very unfortunate for him. All right, then round the line, across the line for the first time, Ronnie Harris is leading, but it looks like we have a red flag now, possibly due to that crash on the other side of the circuit. So quite a dramatic start to this race then, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely, but a perfect one for Ronnie Harris. Really, really strong getaway from the youngster off the line, and launched himself up past Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks into the first corner. So yeah, scythed his way through the middle of both riders, and yeah, so a great start there for the number 66 bike. And yeah, Ronnie as you said, picked up a win already, very close with a couple of second place finishes as well. So, yeah, it's seemingly doing very nicely on the wet as much as in the dry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all these riders at the front, they're all at the front of the championship for a reason. I know we've only had one round, but they're very well versed on these bikes at this point. We've seen how fast Ethan Sparks can be on the mini motos as well. So yeah, these guys trying to find where the grip is, not easy. We've had one crash so far, but it's to be expected in these race conditions, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely so. And just a big thank you, of course, to all the marshals that will be out there just helping out, of course, keeping these races going, and a lot of now having to stand out there in the rain. So, yeah, doing a stellar job, really helping out, and of course, we couldn't get any of this going ahead without the help of a wonderful volunteer marshalling team. So, yeah, everyone is coming round to the grid. We're still under red flag, so we'll be forming up once again, hopefully to get the race back underway. You can see a number of puddles starting to form on the circuit, especially on the exit of some of these corners. I mean, from the commentary box, we can look up at several corners, but especially the exit of turn 10, and there's a big puddle starting to form on the apex. And what's standing water like? Of course, is aquaplaning becomes an issue, and of course, just losing grip on the bike.
Well, the main thing for these guys is when there is standing water, it's more difficult for these wet weather tyres to disperse the water when there's more of it. So going through standing water, like puddles we're seeing through there, it's harder for the tyres to find the grip, as they've got to disperse even more water to be able to find that grip, to grip and move forward.
And that's, of course, why everyone will be running the Extreme Cut wet weather tyres for this one. As we're getting ready to get going again and restart the second race for the Gp Gp50s. And once again, we will see, and it looks as though we've gone for a full restart. So Mason Foster back on the pole. So Ronnie Harris, I'm sure, will be a little bit disappointed with that, because there was a great getaway from him in the first start. So all to do once again for Ronnie, whereas Mason can possibly see where he went wrong first time round and give it another go.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Mason's been struggling with his starts this weekend. That last race we saw earlier on today, he had improved it, and that possibly helped Ronnie Harris get through here, with Mason still having some work to do on his race starts. But Ronnie Harris, he knows what he has to do now. He's already done it, so he just needs to replicate it. And this also, of course, gives the likes of Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks a chance to correct their wrongs. But they are away now, and Ethan Sparks gets a good start, but it's Ronnie Harris that moves up into second place ahead of Ethan Sparks, and it is Mason Foster who's kept the lead there in first place. Ronnie Harris looking menacing just behind Mason Foster, but Ethan Sparks and Samuel Munson, you can see there in the number 72, they won't be keen to let these guys get away. No,
absolutely not. But once again, another good start from Ronnie Harris, not quite able to get the jump on Mason Foster, who had a much better start this time around. And he will lead the field around, and Ronnie Harris, I'm sure, will be on his tail. Positions being changed in the mid-pack, and always a slight contact between the front wheel and the rear wheel there of one of the fluoro yellow liveried bikes with the orange accent wheels. And yeah, it's going to get mighty tight out there. Some riders in front might be a little bit more tentative on the brakes compared to you, so all the riders are going to be really paying attention to what's not only in front of them but also behind.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a lot going on in this grid, as some riders will find the grip quicker than others, and some riders will simply be more daring than others in the opening stages of this race. Lap times from a standing start, though, pretty consistent. A lot of riders very close together, all finding similar amounts of grip at the moment. A rider that's looking very good at the moment is the number 146, who we're currently looking at just behind Ethan Sparks. That's Clayton Edmonds having a look at Ethan Sparks and seeing where he can get through. Just looks like Ethan's struggling a little bit in these wet weather conditions to keep the pace of Mason Foster and Ronnie Harris. Mason Foster fastest across the line on that last lap from a standing start.
Yeah, Ethan Sparks has been a lightning bolt so far this weekend, but as you say, struggling in this wet weather conditions. He dropped back behind Ronnie Harris off the line, and now under real threat from Clayton Edmonds, who's probably having his best run of the weekend so far. So another one of those riders more adept in the rain. You can see it's getting real closer. Ethan Sparks almost holding up Warwick Brady and Clayton Edmonds, as the 146 of Clayton Edmonds and the 99 of Warwick Brady try and close in on Ethan Sparks, who's desperately trying to hold on to this P3.
Yeah, you see Warwick Brady there in 5th spot, the number 99 on the Rapid Fulfillment liveried MK Gp50 there. He set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap with a 58.3, so he's really going to need to be looking to get past these two riders in front of him. Clayton Edmonds looks like he has some pace to be able to get past Ethan Sparks, but it just looks like Ethan is struggling to hold on to that pace in these wet weather conditions.
Mason Foster still leading this.
Oh, and that's Clayton Edmonds down. Clayton Edmonds has gone down at turn 12, a corner we've seen take many riders this weekend, and unfortunately the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds has unfortunately suffered the wrath of turn 12.
Yep, absolutely so. He's not the first, and he definitely will not be the last. It seems turn 12 really taking many victims with, as you say, a very fast corner, and it's just the bike getting from underneath so many of these riders. So it's nothing to be ashamed about, because we've seen even the seniors struggling at that corner. So unfortunate for Clayton Edmonds there. He was looking really strong early on. He's trying to get back in the race, but that promotes Warwick Brady now up into 4th, and Blake Wilson, good start from him. He's in 5th place. Break started 10th on the grid, so making his way up through the field. Plenty of positions made from him. Sam Munson starting to drop back a little bit.
Yeah, Sam Munson's struggling to find the grip in this race, so perhaps just struggling with wet setup there, and very possibly his first time in the wet on this bike. So all these riders, of course, learning their way around these conditions. Looking a little bit further back there, we can see Samuel Munson there just struggling to get the lean angle, it looks like, and a few riders just behind him. Sims and Stevenson seem eager to get past at the moment, but how long will it take Warwick Brady to make a move on Ethan Sparks? Warwick Brady's been able to have a good look at him now. He doesn't want to do anything too rash and risk too much in these conditions. Warwick Brady will be very happy with a podium position, with the Ethan Sparks, Ronnie Harris and Mason Foster pretty much locking out the podiums all weekend long. So to have a new face in Warwick Brady on the podium, I'm sure he'll be very happy with that as he goes around the outside through that corner there. Beautiful stuff from Warwick Brady on the Rapid Fulfillment with the liveried bike with the yellow wheels there, the number 99. Brilliant stuff from him. As we look at Samuel Munson again, this is the battle for 7th place, as Munson really looks to be struggling to find the grip at the moment there, the number 72 with the red bike.
Absolutely so, and yeah, what a move there from Warwick Brady, using the outside to the inside of the double right-hander and then into the left-hander. Great move there, promotes him up onto the podium. You can see he was pushing Ethan Sparks all the way, but yeah, this battle now going on with Jacob Stevenson trying to hold off Ollie Sims and Gardner behind. So yeah, it's getting close, and we've got 5 laps left to go in this one.
Sorry to interrupt, but Warwick Brady has now taken 3rd place away from Ethan Sparks. The number 99 has moved up ahead of Ethan. So now what can Ethan do to come back at the pace of Warwick Brady?
As you see Jacob Stevenson there really doing nicely and exploring different parts of the circuit compared to his competitors around, desperately trying to find a way past Munson. He does it around the outside on the exit turn 5, and turn 5 a particularly tricky corner here, and you can see there Jacob Stevenson, really nice run out of the corner, and the rider with the green accent wheels absolutely soars past Sam Munson, and Sam now falling into the clutches of Ollie Sims and Jacob.
There's been a change for the lead at the front as well. Number 66 Ronnie Harris has gotten past. There we are, we're seeing him now on screen. Number 66 has got past Mason Foster. Looks like Mason has had some sort of a problem, but the man really on a move now is Warwick Brady. Now that he's past Ethan Sparks, he's lapping at a pace nearly 2 seconds quicker than the leader at the moment, Warwick Brady. So Warwick Brady is on an absolute charge, but we have a rider down there through turn 12 again. I believe that's Isaiah Devine down at turn 12. So turn 12 takes another victim in this race. Looking back at Samuel Munson again, fighting for that 8th place at the moment.
Yep, turn 12. Once again, not a favourite for all the riders. Yellow flags are out there, so that will help some of them that are trying to defend their position. Of course, no overtaking under yellow flags.
Like Mason Foster's got some sort of problems because he seemed to be hitting his tank as he was going past our commentary box there, so perhaps some problems for Mason Foster at the moment. Warwick Brady's closing right in on him at the moment with 3 laps to go of this race.
Yep, great run so far for Ronnie Harris, and has made his way up into the lead. Warwick Brady still on a flyer, still the only rider out there in the 56s.
Warwick Brady is now right on the back of Mason Foster, so Warwick Brady really on a charge now and looking to get past the number 88 of Mason Foster.
He's closing right in as they come to the line. It could be almost alongside as we come into turn 1. Can Warwick Brady go down the inside? Not quite close enough, but yeah, is really closing in on Mason Foster. He's got a good run out turn 2, and that's going to give him a run down towards turn 3 and turn 4. And Warwick Brady really putting the charge on. His time came down a little bit. In fact, Ronnie Harris extending his gap at the front to 3.5 seconds with that last lap. Warwick Brady now involved in this battle between himself and Mason Foster. Whilst behind, we still see the 72 of Sam Munson. Really doing a good job, actually, holding off Ollie Sims and Dominic Gardner. We've got 2 laps left to go on this. We've got a rider down on the back straight. That's what is that? Behind Jacob Stevenson. That might be Philip Suriak.
Yeah, very unfortunate end to the race for that rider. As you just saw, the number 88 of Mason Foster coming through the picture as well. Number 72 there, Samuel Munson. We're seeing again. Struggling, I think, for Samuel standards at the moment as we begin the last lap for these guys. Mason Foster now has dropped right through the field. Now he's behind, seems to be behind Samuel Munson, or I believe he's coming round to lap these guys now. So the number 72 we're looking at is about to be lapped by Ronnie Harris. At the moment, who's doing a great job at the front of this race. Warwick Brady is up into 2nd place on the number 99 machine on an absolute charge, still faster than the race leader, but unfortunately with 1 lap to go, there's not quite enough time for Warwick Brady to catch the number 66 of Ronnie Harris. We were just commenting on the livery earlier today, Gareth, of Ronnie Harris, and how we really like that white livery with the red stripe down here. It looks nice, a nice classic style for him, and it's turning into a nice classic win as he goes through the final corner of this race.
Absolutely, and it's going to be Ronnie Harris taking that flag, and a really, really strong win for the 66. Warwick Brady not that far behind, 2.5 seconds. Fantastic race of Warwick, lit up the timing sheets. Mason Foster able to come home in 3rd with Ethan Sparks not enjoying the wet weather. Blake Wilson, good run for him in 5th. Harrison McKay in 6th, Sam Munson in 7th, and in fact it was Dominic Gardner unfortunately went down at turn 12 and not Philip Suriak, but it's Ollie Sims in 8th, Jacob Stevenson in 9th, and Clayton Edmonds who managed to recover back to 10th place. But Ronnie Harris, he had a great start in the first attempt of getting the race underway, didn't quite get past Mason Foster in the restart, but once he was into that position, just controlled the race from the front.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant ride from Ronnie Harris, didn't push harder than he needed to, and managed to get that win. Warwick Brady definitely rider of the race for me. There it is confirmed then. Ronnie Harris, the number 66, takes the win ahead of Warwick Brady. You can see that fastest lap of the race went to Warwick Brady. Tremendous pace there, almost 2 seconds quicker than Ronnie Harris. Mason Foster it was then, the number 88, who took 3rd place ahead of Ethan Sparks and Blake Wilson rounding out the top 5. The number 61 of Harrison McKay took 6th place ahead of number 72 Samuel Munson. Ollie Sims in 8th. 9th place went to the 76 of Jacob Stevenson, and the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds in 10th place.
Absolutely fantastic win there for Ronnie Harris, and So it was absolutely, I'm sure he'll be delighted with that victory. And behind Warwick Brady, what a race from him, just absolutely lighting up those summing sheets, going purple by 2 seconds at points during that one. So yeah, what a way to finish on the podium. Maybe not the top step, but fighting through the field and picking up an absolutely mega result in second.
Yeah, absolutely. Warwick Brady's got to be really proud of himself with that one. Great second place for him. We're seeing another name on the podium now, which is good. So that's the first podium for him this weekend. So brilliant stuff from him, and he was just able to find some grip that no one else could find, and some really strong pace from him. So yeah, really happy.
Yeah, they'll be delighted. So that was the second race for the Gp50 class. So next out on circuit will be the second race to the Extreme 200s, and that's another class that we've had a lot of fun with this weekend, and 2 more races for them over the race day, and of course we've got one coming up and then one right at the end of the day, and but much different conditions, and a lot of riders out there will be lining up, and I imagine have just quickly shifted over tyres, and it's going to be once again. I think for the rest of this afternoon, it's going to be fascinating for us to watch this, because, like we've seen so far, some riders doing nicely in the wet, some riders not. So this could go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Wet weather, as we've said, always throws up some surprises. Some very fast riders on this grid, as we've seen Casey O'Gorman, who we've seen very much at the front end of this race. He'll be starting from pole position. Charlie Nesbitt is set to line up right next to him, but we'll have to wait and see if he goes out on the grid, as he opted out of the Pit Bike 140 race that we saw earlier on. Yeah, absolutely. So we will find out as the riders all filter through to the grid, where some of the positions will be found. But it's all going to be about picking your places, finding the grip, and a lot of these riders, as we alluded to earlier, maybe not as well versed in the wet as they are in the dry, and the track has got considerably wetter over the last 2 races. A lot of standing water out there, and making it a lot more exciting for us and for you watching at home. And for everyone watching at home, thank you for joining us on FAB-Racing.co.uk, their Facebook channel, or of course their YouTube, and or if you're listening live on motorsport.radio. Plenty of places to find out, and let us know who you're cheering for, who you're watching, and what you want to see. And it's always good to hear from you in the comments. These guys being given a sighted lap to go out and test that grip level out there, and Casey O'Gorman will be the one leading the charge at the front. Yeah, absolutely. Casey O'Gorman starting from pole position. Looks like we've had a crash there for Cameron Horseman. He's gone down on the sighting lap there, just getting his bike started up again. So an unfortunate start to the race for Cameron Horseman with the British Talent Cup leathers. They're trying to get his bike started and back out there. Frustrating race already for some of these riders. Yeah, absolutely. So tricky conditions, and perhaps just not going to plan so far for Cam Horseman, and he will be hoping to get that bike started and get his way round to the back of the pack before the riders come around and start the race off. And Casey O'Gorman's coming around to the grid now, so Cam Horseman, a lot of work to get this done. And we've got reports the rain is starting to come down even heavier now, as it looks as though from the box that Cam Horseman wheeling that bike over to the side of the circuit, so it looks as though he won't be taking the start. Yeah, no, unfortunate one for Cameron Horseman. He's wheeling his bike back into the paddock, back down pit lane, so very unfortunate for him, but now all eyes are on the flag. And Casey O'Gorman starting from pole position gets a nice clean start, a little bit of a wheelie for him, but nothing too much to worry about. The number 93 there goes up into second place. That's Harrison Crosby. So Casey O'Gorman leading from Harrison Crosby as they head into the chicane for the first time. In number 8, it is in third place, just ahead of the number 16 of Harvey Claridge there, with the British Tank Cup leathers and the white livery on that bike there. Yep, great start there from Casey O'Gorman, the 172. Maintains the lead of this one after starting towards the front, and you can see it's going to be hard work for Harrison Crosby to close him in, because we'll find out. Casey has been pretty dominant so far this weekend. Can he do it in the wet? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We haven't seen anything from him in wet weather conditions so far this weekend. So whatever happens now it's all completely unseen territory at the moment. But Casey O'Gorman doing a great job on this opening lap, fastest round from a standing start. So a good start for the race for Casey O'Gorman, and looking comfortable in a good place to be able to pick up 25 points in this Extreme 200 race. The number 93 of Harrison Crosby doing really well in second place there, 1.1 second gap back to Crosby from O'Gorman, but Harvey Claridge now looking really menacing there in fourth spot, just attacking the number 8 there of Eddie O'Shea. Both these guys British Talent Cup riders, as well as actually all of these guys British Talent Cup riders in this race, so it's like a second British Talent Cup race at the moment with this 6-rider grid at the moment.
Yep, absolutely so, and they all want to get one over each other, so it's going to be Casey O'Gorman across the line. Second is Harrison Crosby. Eddie O'Shea holding on to third place with Harvey Claridge not far behind. Bailey Stewart Campbell and Ryan Hitchcock a little bit further back, possibly struggling on these conditions out there, you can see, but it's Casey O'Gorman comfortably in the lead. In fact, he's in the 52.3s, Harrison Crosby only in the 53.1, so Casey almost a second a lap faster at the moment. He's seemingly finding grip out there that others aren't, and already early on, with 8 laps left to go, Casey O'Gorman controlling this race from the front.
Bit of a wobble there from Harvey Claridge on the exit of the chicane on the far end of the circuit as he comes onto the back straight one more time. You can see Harrison Crosby there. He's been closed in by Eddie O'Shea and Harvey Claridge, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do, and that's Eddie O'Shea now taking second place away from Harrison Crosby. So that's now Eddie O'Shea into second place, Harrison Crosby third, and currently Harvey Claridge in fourth spot. Bailey Stewart Campbell just behind these guys, and Ryan Hitchcock also in sixth. But it is Casey O'Gorman now absolutely stamping his authority over his British Talent Cup competitors now. But if you just look at the inside knee of Harvey Claridge at the moment, it looks like his knee slider is hanging off there and very close to coming off. So some trouble for Harvey Claridge in terms of a flapping knee slider there. So that may very well become even more of a problem for him, as that could very well fly off at any minute.
Yeah, absolutely so, and that's the last thing you want. And you can see for Harvey, how much of a distraction is that, especially in these conditions?
Yeah, it's definitely off-putting. I've experienced it before. I had it in a qualifying session last year, and it's really not something you want, because as soon as you put your knee down and the slider's not there, and you just hit the Velcro on the ground, it catches and it really unsettles you. But when he knows it's there, it's not going to be as much of a problem in these wet weather conditions, because obviously you don't have your knee down as much in the wet, because you're not leaning as much. It's doing a good job to just still stay on there. It's there, but it's not quite doing anything at the moment, so he's just going to have to be careful of that one. You can see him just hovering his knee over the ground there and not quite fully putting pressure on his knee through that corner.
Casey O'Gorman doing a fastest lap last time around of a 51.2, half a second faster than Eddie O'Shea, but Eddie O'Shea dipping into the 51s and a 51.7, so no slouch. He's trying to close in, but it looks as though with 6 laps left to go that this is Casey's race to lose. But Eddie O'Shea, good start from him up into second place, and consistent laps from him. In fact, I say that as Harvey Claridge gets past him, so Harvey Claridge with a 50.776 on that lap.
Yeah, so Harvey Claridge with the fastest lap of the race by quite some margin, and almost a good chunk faster than Casey O'Gorman at this point in time. So could we see Harvey Claridge bring down that 3.5 second lead that Casey O'Gorman has over him?
Absolutely so. So, yeah, Harvey Claridge on a charge in this late stage. The rain is really starting to come down now here in Lydd. Completely the opposite from what we saw yesterday in the bright sunshine. And, yeah, it's really starting to hurt some of these drivers. But also, equally like Harvey Claridge, number 16, he's starting to come alive as Casey O'Gorman comes across the line, does a 51.4. Harvey Claridge does a 55. So Harvey Claridge is really quick in these last stages. We've got 4 laps left to go, and he's got a really good shot. It's only 2.6 now to Casey.
Yeah, absolutely. He's clawed that gap in He's brought a second out of that gap at the moment. So brilliant stuff from Harvey Claridge at the moment. You can visibly see that he's definitely closer on circuit. There he is, right there. He's gapped Eddie O'Shea and is absolutely on a charge now with that knee slider still hanging about. Casey O'Gorman's trying to stamp his authority on his British Talent Cup competitors at the moment. Casey O'Gorman looking very good in testing for the British Talent Cup and looking as one of the favourites going into the championship. But at the moment, he has to contend with current British Talent Cup rider Harvey Claridge, who's really reeling him in now. But on that last lap, Casey O'Gorman has responded with a 51.1. So very close lap times between those two, matching Harvey Claridge's pace on that last lap. So Casey O'Gorman has responded. You could see him looking behind him there. He knew Harvey Claridge was coming and has absolutely responded now with 3 laps to go.
Yep, 2.6 seconds is the gap between the pair. And as you say, the lap last time was split by 4 thousandths of a second, and there goes that knee slider for Harvey Claridge. So yeah, that's got rid of. Oh, I say that as it looks as though maybe something else came off because the knee slider's still flapping around. So yeah, Harvey Claridge falling apart on circuit when it comes to his
you know, I think that's the knee slider gone, and that's just hit the bike of Eddie O'Shea there. Not a problem for him, just bounced off. But it looks like, I'm pretty sure, Harvey Claridge has lost both his knee sliders now. So he's going to have to be careful on both sides which he's leading. That gap now is stretched back out to 3 seconds. So Casey O'Gorman responding even more with a 51 flat there on that last lap. 0.4 of a second faster than Claridge on that last lap. So I think Harvey Claridge with no knee sliders on those Alpine Star British Talent Cup leathers is just struggling for a bit of pace now as he can't quite get his knee down as he'd like to. That's both knee sliders gone now. You can see there on the other side 2 black marks. There's no white knee sliders on his knees at all now. So I think he needs to get some stronger chewing gum to stick those on.
Absolutely so, and he's really starting to come under threat now, and there you go, through goes Eddie O'Shea. So the arm goes up from Eddie O'Shea as he clears him. Harvey Claridge dropping down now into third. I think
Harvey Claridge is coming into pit lane now, probably because of the issues he's having with his knee sliders. So that's forcing Harvey Claridge to sit out of this race. Such a shame because he was really flying in this race. Casey O'Gorman looking behind him then. 1 lap to go for Casey, and he will pick up 25 points here in the Extreme 200 race. He's done a brilliant job out front, set a very fast lap on that last lap, a 50.7, very close to the fastest lap of the race, which was set by Harvey Claridge earlier on. Such a shame that we couldn't see Harvey try and catch Casey, because he was really flying at one point in this race. But that's it, a brilliant ride from Casey O'Gorman as he goes into the final corner for the final time of asking. Nice and cleanly does it as he crosses the line for the final time in this race. Casey O'Gorman is the winner of race 2 for the Extreme 200s. Brilliant run from Casey O'Gorman. Eddie O'Shea it will be then that takes second place, and the battle for fourth place we're just looking at now there between Bailey Stewart Campbell and Ryan Hitchcock there. It just looks like Ryan Hitchcock's got the better of Bailey Stewart Campbell on this last lap. So that's the battle for fourth happening there. The number 93 of Harrison Crosby has crossed the line to take third place. So that's your first, second and third. Casey O'Gorman, Eddie O'Shea and Harrison Crosby in that one. Ryan Hitchcock it will be then that takes that fourth place ahead of Bailey Stewart Campbell in fifth. And that's all the riders from this race.
Yep, fantastic race there for Casey O'Gorman, and adds to the points tally that he accumulated yesterday with some fantastic results here in the Extreme 200s. And I think we're now probably the worst conditions we've seen so far this weekend. The rain really sheeting down here in Lydd, and yeah, a big commiserations goes out to our wonderful cameramen out there that are probably standing out in this driving rain and doing a marvellous job making sure that everyone can see this action at home. So yeah, make sure you get in touch on the socials and say a big thank you to those guys as they provide an absolute brilliant service to us. But it is Casey O'Gorman that takes the win in the second race of the Extreme 200s, and it's going to be a quick bike swap for him because he's due to be part of the Gp Gp50s very shortly.
Yep, MK Gp50s up next. Casey O'Gorman lines up second on the grid for that. So after taking a tremendous win in the Extreme 200s, he's now swapping bikes over to the MK Gp70s, ready to give Johnny Garnes a good run for his money, as he has done in the past couple of races. Johnny Garnes will be focused on finishing this race. He's got a championship to think about, as he's looking very good at the top of the standings at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what Garnes can do in these wet weather conditions. Unfortunately for Garnes, Casey has already had a good few laps around this circuit to find where the grip is, and will have the upper hand over Garnes just purely from more experience. You can just see there Casey O'Gorman getting on that MK GP70 machine, ready to go out and do battle once again. He's taken that race win, and now he's out to go and try and do another. Mason Foster there as well, jumping on his GP70 machine, ready to do battle again. He's also experienced the wet weather conditions earlier on in the GP50 race, so another rider who will more or less know what to expect from these conditions.
Yeah, absolutely so. But of course, the rain is still coming down heavier and heavier. So yeah, it's the track will have got a lot worse since Mason Foster was last out there, and so I think this is going to be a good shout for Casey O'Gorman, who's of course just completed the Extreme 200 race in these conditions, and so he had a lot of work to do for these MKGP70 riders to get used to these conditions pretty quickly. And after that, we have the third races of the day. So we'll have the AC40 Pros out on circuit for their third and final race of round 2 and of the weekend. And then after that, the AC40 Rookie class. So a couple of the air-cooled 40 classes coming up soon. We've got bike stopped like at the back.
Mason Foster, I think. Yeah, that is the number 88. That's Mason Foster, who looks like he's having some technical difficulties over on the far end of the circuit. You can see he's right on the furthest end of the circuit there, trying to get his bike back up and running. So disastrous start to this race for Mason Foster. Hopefully he can get that bike back up and running and into this race.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's probably the worst place for Mason to have suffered this issue, because he's a long way away from the marshal's posts there, so he's going to have to try his best to get that bike started and move back. But you can see, yeah, really striking, arm up in the air, trying to signal to the marshals that he just can't get the bike started. And so the 88 machine is not working for him at the moment, and you can see everyone else lined up on the grid, but Mason Foster not able to make the start. You can see marshals trying to get over to Mason to help him out, but yeah, it's the worst part for him to lose that power, because we'll find out when the marshals go over if they can give him a bump start and get him back going. But apart from that, out on circuit, Johnny Garnes, and he'll be looking at extending this championship lead. Strong weekend so far for Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny's had a really good weekend, first and seconds. You can't complain with that. He's been building up points for the championship. You could see he was a bit frustrated with himself after that last race, not being able to get the better of Casey O'Gorman. But it's still a tremendous weekend for him. He's racking up the points for the championship and doing a brilliant job. He's nice and consistent, and he just wants to keep that going in this race. A lot can be lost in this race. It's very easy to crash out in these conditions, so he needs to be wary of these conditions and making sure, more than anything, he's scoring points.
Yeah, absolutely so, and that's something that Johnny has done consistently over this one. And even though he's had the fight taken to him by Casey O'Gorman, he's been consistent enough to pick up some really strong results. So Johnny Garnes will be leaving Lydd with a pretty strong championship lead. Lucas Brown will be the rider will be looking at possibly using these wet conditions to his favour. So we'll find out if Johnny's strong in the wet, and it looks as though Mason Foster has got going. So he is heading down the back straight now, and the rain is really starting to come down here, and these riders will not be enjoying these conditions whatsoever. And we'll find out if, of course, with one race left to go, we're expecting this rain to stick around for a while, so it's not going to change anytime soon. And yeah, but it's going to make life very difficult for a number of riders. Mason Foster finding his way into his grid slot now that he's got the bike restarted, and behind that's another rider filtering into position. Is that the number That might be the red bike, the number 57. So that's Johnny Garness that came round late. So
that's the MK Gp50s then away for their warm-up lap. They'll just use this to have a good look and a good assessment of the conditions around this circuit and try and figure out where they can find grip there. You can just see Lucas Brown there leading this warm-up lap and doing well to find the grip around this track. Number 88 there, Mason Foster. We saw him have a little bit of trouble on the formation lap, but he's back up and running now and eager to get this race underway.
Yep, absolutely so. So, yep, Johnny Garness, a lot of work for him to do over the next 10 minutes or so that will take us through race 2 of the MK Gp70 class. You can see the circuit getting wetter and wetter with each lap that these riders are out on circuit. And yeah, stark contrast for what we saw yesterday in very, very lovely sunny conditions. So everyone round to the grid getting ready for the start, and Johnny Garness will be hoping for a good start. Casey O'Gorman, who of course has just finished up on the Extreme 200, so will be looking at using that experience in this much more treacherous circuit to get a good launch into T1 and T2 and getting past Johnny Garness and not having to worry about an early race battle. But you can see Mason Foster seemingly still having a little bit of an issue, it seems, with that bike. So we'll see if that all stays well, but it's going to be everyone else looking to the lights, ready to start race 2 of the MK Gp70s. Lights out, and it's a slow start there for Johnny Garness, and into first position already. I believe that was Lucas Brown, so great start there from Lucas. Moves up, and Casey O'Gorman equally into second place. So yeah, disaster start for Johnny Garness. Absolutely brilliant one from Lucas. Yeah, brilliant start from Lucas. We were praising him no end in that last race, and he did do really well, but now doing a really good job to take the lead of this race. You could see Casey O'Gorman all over the rear wheel of Lucas Brown through that section. So I believe it'll only be a matter of time, and we are seeing a change of the lead. So Casey O'Gorman has taken the lead from Lucas Brown. Johnny Garness dropping through the field at the moment, so not good signs for the current championship leader. Casey O'Gorman then stretching his lead. He has already had some experience in these conditions, so he does know exactly what to be expecting from this circuit. Mason Foster, you can see there, also doing a good job. He had a bit of difficulty in this at the beginning of this race. Number 146 there, you can see Clayton Edmonds also enjoying life at the beginning of this race. So Casey O'Gorman it is, though, who's got a lead of 1.3 seconds already over the line. One lap up, but Casey O'Gorman's gone down. Casey O'Gorman is trying to restart. The bike is in the middle of the circuit there. Casey O'Gorman is remounted and is trying to get his race back underway. He's just getting some assistance there from one of the marshals, so that gives Lucas Brown the lead of this race. And number 61, Harrison McKay, has sneaked his way up into second position. So that's Harrison McKay trying to close down the number 29 of Lucas Brown now. So brilliant stuff from him. Ben Jolliffe now up into third place, and that also promotes Clayton Edmonds to fourth. So yeah, brilliant stuff from a lot of these names that we haven't seen quite knocking on the door of podiums, are now in very good position in this race. Yeah, absolutely. So mega start for Harrison McKay there. Started 8th on the grid. He's found himself in second with 10 laps left to go in this one. Ben Jolliffe now up into third. Clayton Edmonds in fourth. Josh Bannister in fifth. Mason Foster in sixth. Johnny Garness now down in seventh position. Holly Harris up to 8th. Casey O'Gorman all the way down to 9th. So a lot of work for Casey to close in again if he's to pick up some decent points for this one. But yeah, this is perfect for Lucas Brown, his title rival. Johnny Garness down in 7th position. Lucas Brown currently leading this one, and with just about 7/10 gap to himself and Harrison McKay. So yeah, this is a perfect situation if you're Lucas Brown. Yeah, absolutely. We said it wouldn't be long before we see him get a race win, but he's definitely going to be having some trouble coming his way in the form of the number 61 of Harrison McKay, because he has closed the gap right up to the back wheel of Lucas Brown now. So Lucas Brown is going to have to really defend his lines to make sure Harrison McKay can't find a way past
but Lucas Brown could be quite clever here to let another rider lead this race, because it would be quite difficult to lead a race when you've got so many riders behind you watching you. It's so much easier in treacherous conditions to follow than it is to lead. So it could be a good idea for Lucas Brown to just follow for a couple of laps, but we're seeing all these riders really close, absolutely nip and tuck racing here at the moment. Number 88 there, you can see Mason Foster climbing his way up through the field. So it's an absolute train at the front of this race. So really any of these riders, right down to Johnny Garness in 7th position, could realistically get the win of this race.
Yeah, and we've seen so many mistakes over the last few races, as Casey O'Gorman absolutely on fire in 8th position at the moment, a 56 flat.
And I think you can see him in the back of the picture there, just behind Garness. Yeah, that's Casey O'Gorman, so he's nearly caught these guys. He's crashed out of this race and is nearly catching the leading group at the moment, down in 8th place at the moment, so we could be on for a real interesting treat here in this race. Mason Foster going side by side there with the number 125 there, that's Ben Jolliffe. All these riders swapping positions faster than we can keep up with, but it is still the number 29 of Lucas Brown leading this race as they come up to some lap traffic there in the form of the number 87. That's Felix Dorling, just struggling in these wet weather conditions. Very difficult for these riders to be able to gauge where the grip is in this race, but a rider who's doing a very good job of it is Casey O'Gorman. Fastest lap of the race by quite some distance, a 55.6. He's absolutely on fire, but he's going to have to negotiate his way through a lot of these riders. A big train at the front of this race.
Yeah, Lucas Brown right at the head of this field, but Casey O'Gorman was 5 seconds a lap faster on that last lap there, so it's going to be a lot of work for Lucas to hold on to this one, because you can see he's so tensively exiting the final corner, and he's got the entire field following him. As you can see, is that change of position there between 2nd and 3rd. Mason Foster and Harrison McKay fighting over 2nd as they exit turn 2. Look at the puddles and the exit of turn 3 into turn 4.
And this scrapping now is just letting Lucas Brown getting a little bit of breathing space, although Mason Foster has managed to breathe. It was 0.5 over the line, but I think Mason Foster has managed to bridge that gap. So yeah, brilliant stuff from all of these guys. Yeah, Mason Foster is now right on the back wheel of Lucas Brown, so Mason Foster absolutely flying at the moment. Johnny Garness is also making his way up through the field. I think he's been given the go-ahead there, because Casey O'Gorman is flying through this field, so he's going to have to watch out for O'Gorman flying behind him. In fact, O'Gorman now is right on the back wheel of Johnny Garness, so Garness and O'Gorman trying to make their way up through this pack. Josh Bannister also at the back of this pack, the number 2. He's also right on the back of these guys and can make his move up. So Casey O'Gorman absolutely flying up through this grid, up into 5th place now. Garness up into 4th. We're seeing changes of positions happening non-stop in this train at the front of this race, but Lucas Brown it is who's been leading the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant overtake there for Johnny Garness. Overtook 2 bikes into the final 2 corners. It was Ben Jolliffe and Clayton Edmonds that he managed to get past, and with the gap that was opened by Johnny Garness, Casey O'Gorman thought, you know what, I'm going to put it at 2 there, and sent it up the inside, and Casey now follows Johnny Garness up into 5th position. Johnny just off of the podium, but Lucas Brown still holding on to this one, coming under real threat from Mason Foster in 2nd. In fact, Mason Foster...
and a brilliant move there from Casey O'Gorman to take 3rd spot away from the number 61 of Harrison McKay, and Johnny Garness took full advantage of that and absolutely drove past the both of them onto the home straight, but onto the back straight rather, but Casey O'Gorman has managed to get past once again. So brilliant stuff from Casey O'Gorman, absolutely flying through the field with 4 laps to go of this race.
Yeah, brilliant move there from Casey O'Gorman, and once again makes a great overtake, double overtake on Harrison McKay and Johnny Garness. Arm went up down the back straight for the just a slight bit of an elbow knock there, but yeah, Casey, great move, now finds himself on the podium. He's now going to close in on Mason Foster and Lucas Brown, doing a great job so far to hold on to this one. We've got about 3.5 laps left to go, and Lucas Brown has been leading from the front since the start, with a great start from the number 29, but Mason Foster right on the tail of him, and Casey O'Gorman now coming into play, dragging Johnny Garness along with him, but it looks as though there might be a change for the lead into the last corner, because alongside does come Mason Foster. Will he get it up across the line? It's going to be ever so close, and it looks as though he might have...
Fastest lap of the race now for Johnny Garness. So Johnny Garness has seen Casey O'Gorman put the hammer down, and he's responding. He's found where the grip is. Very clever ride from Garness, as we see Mason Foster just having a look up the inside, but couldn't quite make a move stick there. But yeah, brilliant stuff from these guys. You can just see how close Casey O'Gorman is trying to get. Mason Foster trying to make a move there. Casey O'Gorman looking at the outside, now looking to the inside, and he's making a move stick. A brilliant drive out that corner and absolutely flew past Mason Foster. So Casey O'Gorman now into second place in this race. Johnny Garness also looking very menacing there. So we now have a 4-rider scrap for the lead, but you have to think once Casey O'Gorman takes the lead, he had the pace to catch these guys down after a crash. He's going to have the pace to get away. So Johnny Garness is going to have to really try and get through these guys and make sure that Casey O'Gorman doesn't get away as they come up to some more lap traffic now.
Yep, get past Felix Dorling, the 87. Doesn't look to have slowed the riders down too much. It is still Lucas Brown that leads this one, with Casey O'Gorman now in second. Johnny Garness having passed Mason Foster, and he drops off the podium. We've got 2 laps left to go. Lucas Brown is doing all he can to keep the incredibly fast Casey O'Gorman and Johnny Garness behind, and he's doing a great job, and this would be perfect for Lucas Brown, and he knows that Casey is very, very quick, but he also knows that this gap between himself and Johnny Garness is split by Casey, so he needs to ideally keep him behind, but if he does drop behind Casey, of course, he needs to be beating Johnny Garness for the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Garness in a really good position at the moment here. To be honest, he can stay where he is, score points, and it'll be good for his championship. He doesn't need to risk anything because he's in a very good place. Still very early days, of course, in the championship, so he will be wanting to pick up the maximum points he can as they head into the last lap of this race at Lydd. Looks as if Garness has just dropped off the back of these guys, so I think now it's a 2-horse race between the number 29 and the number 172 of Casey O'Gorman. So what can O'Gorman do about Lucas Brown? Lucas Brown has led pretty much every lap of this race, so it would be such a disheartening thing for him to see Casey O'Gorman come past. But of course Casey O'Gorman did lead the opening stages of this race before crashing out. But what a brilliant race this would be from O'Gorman to take the win after crashing out of this race. But he doesn't look quite close enough as they go into the final corner. Lucas Brown goes really defensive. No way through for Casey O'Gorman. Can he get the run to the line? Lucas Brown looking good to take this one. He looks across to his right and takes the win. So Lucas Brown wins. 25 points in the way of Lucas Brown. We said that a win would be coming his way very shortly, and sets the fastest lap of the race on that final lap, just for good measure, just to prove he was the fastest rider on circuit. Lucas Brown, a well-deserved win for him. Brilliant ride from Casey O'Gorman. I mean, we've spoke all weekend about how good Casey O'Gorman is, but to be able to crash and still pick up second place, brilliant ride from him. Johnny Garness looked as if he was struggling at the beginning, but still picked up third place. So a brilliant ride from the number 57 also. So there it is confirmed then. Lucas Brown, the number 29, takes the win. The first win of the season for Lucas Brown. Casey O'Gorman takes second place ahead of Johnny Garness. Mason Foster, brilliant ride from him to pick up fourth place for the number 88. Josh Bannister recovered after looking like he was struggling at one point in that race, but fifth place for the number 2 ahead of Harrison McKay, the number 61. Number 125 of Ben Jolliffe in seventh place ahead of Clayton Edmonds, Greg Marshall and Felix Dorling rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, what a win for Lucas Brown. Exactly what he needed there to not only finish ahead of Johnny Garness, but by getting Casey O'Gorman to split him as well. So, yeah, Casey just wasn't quite close enough. And we've seen that Casey is always one that will make a move into the last lap. We saw it yesterday up against Johnny Garness into the final corner. It didn't quite come off for Casey, and but not quite close enough. Lucas Brown with that fastest lap on the last lap there. Just that shows the measure of the driver, that when he he came under immense pressure. He just put it down, got the lap time, and held on to his first victory in MKGP70.
Yeah, he absolutely responded. He turned the heat up on that final lap, set the fastest lap of the race. Casey did manage to equal it. It was only slightly so. They both managed a 54.6, which was just slightly too quick for Johnny Garness, but Garness should be very happy with the podium there, picking up more points for his championship. So a brilliant ride for Garness, and a very brilliant ride from Lucas Brown.
Yep, absolutely so. And so thank you everyone for joining us at home. Hopefully you're enjoying the day's racing, and we'll be bringing you plenty
and we've got
more.
A crash in the pit lane there. That's Ethan Sparks, who just crashes before he gets out there. Just proves how slippery this surface is in these treacherous conditions. Ethan Sparks having a bit of an off before he even gets on the track.
Yeah, absolutely so. And this is of course the AC Pro class coming out on circuit, and it's going to be their first real taste of wet weather running. A couple of these riders will have had a little bit of a dabble earlier on in the GP50 class, but a lot of these guys not used to this wet weather circuit, and this is going to really shake up the field for this AC40 Pro class.
Yeah, absolutely. This is unseen territory again, like we said for the last couple of races. Joshua Williams will be starting from pole. We've seen how fast Ethan Sparks is in the dry, but wet weather conditions is very different. Ethan Sparks has already had some experience on this wet circuit earlier on in the Mini GP50 race. But obviously he won't have experienced it on the infield section, and that's possibly another thing, is the infield section that hasn't had bikes going through it as much. You can see there's a lot of standing water on that infield because it hasn't had bikes running through it and dispersing the water, so that's something these guys are going to have to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely so, and you can see puddles on the grid, and already an issue there for one of the riders on circuit getting the bike restarted, and that's the number 91, possibly is that Archie O'Brien out there struggling to get the bike restarted. So it's already becoming a bit of a problem, and as you say, the water on the infield section has been pooling due to the lack of running on it. So the first few laps may be a lot trickier for these AC40 Pro runners. And they've had some very, very good races so far. Joshua Williams, Ethan Sparks have probably had the share of the spoils in this one. But Archie O'Brien, watch out for him. Equally, Archie Gibbs and Marco Holt, who fought back through after starting in the pit lane last race, managed to pick himself up a fifth-place finish. So Marco, we'll see if he can translate that good fight back in race one into a decent wet weather result.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking at all of these guys. We could see an absolute surprise, as we always see in the wet. Anyone really, any of these riders could come through and win this race. We have no idea. We haven't seen what these guys are like in the wet. So we could be in for a very interesting race as the guys get their warm-up lap underway, so they can just assess these track conditions for one lap before they go hammer and tonks for the race. And that is all your riders just testing out where the grip is on this opening warm-up lap here. Yeah,
you can see the puddles really spraying up as the riders go through them, and that's not going to help anyone behind, because so much puddle, so much spray, it won't just get in the way, but it also straight onto the visor of the rider behind on these bikes that are so low down. So obviously riding through puddles is way more treacherous and way more dangerous than some of the riders we've seen in the GP70s and the 50s.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking before about how it's easier to lead in wet conditions than it is to it's easier to follow than it is to lead, but one benefit of leading, of course, like you've just said, is you don't get that spray off of the other bikes, especially with the amount of standing water at the moment. They're going to have to be a bit tentative going into this infield section, as there's quite a bit of standing water. You can see quite a bit on the apex as they go through the left-hander here, the second the hairpin of that infield section. So something they're going to have to look out for. Probably have less grip than the rest of the circuit, because it will have more standing water, having had no bikes ride through it so far today. Absolutely.
It's going to be Joshua Williams on the pole, with Ethan Sparks in second, Archie O'Brien lining up in third alongside Archie Gibbs, Marco Holt in fifth, with Wilson Dilks in sixth, Luke Fitch at seventh, Thorley Trevorrow in eighth, Harry Payne in ninth, and Bill Harris in 10th. Outside the top 10 is Casey Sperry, their number 20 rider, with Keaton Payne in 12th, Noah Guillory in 13th, with Bailey Lawrence in 14th. Callum Maxwell rounds out the final row on P15 in row 8, and you can see there, it looks as though, is that Archie O'Brien already struggling with that bike, taking to the sideline, to the pit lane. So obviously that bike issue unable to get him started in this one, so that will open up the door for Marco Holt to get a good run down to turn 1. So it looks like hopefully he's going to be able to get that bike restarted, so that's a good thing for Archie, because he's had some really strong results so far this weekend, and but it's going to be Joshua Williams leading from the front, looking at the lights, getting us ready for the AC40 Pro Class, their third race of the weekend. And it's a good start there from Ethan Sparks around the outside, straight up into the lead of this one. Ethan up ahead of Joshua, who's dropped right down.
Yeah, great start for Ethan Sparks from second place on the grid up into the lead. He's going to be the benchmark now, as Archie Gibbs does a really good job to get around the outside of Archie O'Brien through that first complex, and is looking really strong around the outside of Ethan Sparks as well. So Archie Gibbs finding grip that no one else is finding at the moment. Ethan Sparks will now do his best to try and stay on the back of the number 3 rider there, leading this race with the fluorescent flashes on that leathers and on that bike.
What a move there from Archie Gibbs around the outside. Like you said, no one else has really even tried that, but yeah, found all the grip and already extending a lead over Ethan Sparks. And as they come into the infield hairpin section, as you say, it's going to be tricky over the first few laps as the bikes look to disperse a little bit of water, but it is Archie Gibbs that leads us around to Ethan Sparks in second. So Ethan once again will be looking at picking up a strong result and pushing forward his AC40 Pro Class Championship hopes, leaving round 2. But it is Archie Gibbs who's got a comfortable 1.7 second lead after the first lap, even though he started in 4th place. So what a mega start for Archie Gibbs.
Yeah, brilliant start from Archie Gibbs, and a good start for number 58, Marco Holt, maintaining his 4th place on the grid. You can just see him there with that helmet that we approve of so much, opting not to run a front fairing in this race. Interesting tactic. I'm not sure quite why he's not running a front fairing in this one. Possibly fell off. But looking very interesting. He had a nice number 58 earlier on, but we can see him there, spot him with that green helmet, Monsters Inc. inspired helmet there. So yeah, very, very good ride at the moment for Holt. He's just going to try and find his way past Joshua Williams, who's just in front of him at the moment in 4th spot. So Joshua Williams just eking out a little bit of a gap now on these riders behind him, but a big gaggle of riders behind the 4th spot rider rather of Joshua Williams as they get side by side through the infield section. A big gaggle of riders here just behind Joshua Williams. So loads of riders trying to find their way through. You can see just further back there the number 7 of Luke Fitchett also in the mix. So yeah, many riders really pushing on in this race. Archie O'Brien still in 3rd place. And Archie Gibbs just absolutely flying at the front, finding pace that no one else is able to find at the moment. 112 flat from Archie Gibbs. And Ethan Sparks doing well to be in the 112s as well. And these guys are absolutely in a world of their own. No one can quite match their pace. They're a good few seconds faster than anyone else at the moment. So it's all about those two at the front. Archie Gibbs with a nice 2.1 second lead over Ethan Sparks at the moment. But Ethan putting the hammer down and getting some good lap times in at this point in the race.
Yeah, absolutely so, and you're completely right. Archie Gibbs and Ethan Sparks are circulating Lydd 5 seconds faster a lap than anyone else. Special mention goes out to Noah Guillory, started in 13th, now finds himself in 8th, so a great start for Noah there. He'll be looking at putting pressure on Wilson Dilks and Marco Holt, who's been passed by Thori Trevorrow for 5th position. You can see this battle in the mid-pack still going on. All these riders staying very close to each other across the line. Archie Gibbs is just going faster and faster. A 1:10 puts him 2 seconds a lap faster than Ethan Sparks and 7 seconds faster than the riders coming down through the field.
Thorley Trevorrow is another rider absolutely on a mission. 1:14 from him, so faster than all the other riders around him. He's moved up into 4th spot, and Wilson Dilks now 1:12.5, which is matching the pace of Ethan Sparks. So Dilks and Trevorrow absolutely on a mission now.
Yeah. One rider that's not had the great of run so far is Joshua Williams. Started on the pole, now finds himself in 7th place, under threat from Noah Guillory. So Josh possibly not enjoying these wet conditions compared to the dry, which he was doing so well in over the opening stages of this weekend in round 1 and this morning in the dry for round 2. But it is still Archie Gibbs that is leading this one, and leading it pretty comfortably. He's coming out of the final corner now, across the line, and he's got an incredibly healthy lead over Ethan Sparks, and he's just going quicker and quicker every single lap, setting purple times every time we see him going around.
It just looks like a couple of riders have a problem there with the red leathers there. Unfortunate for that rider. He's trying to get the bike started and get back out onto the circuit, but unfortunate scenario for him. That is Thorley Trevorrow, who is on an absolute mission, and we saw climbing through the field. He is now having some sort of problems, so you could see how disappointed he was. He's dropping down the order, and very disappointing for him. But you can see all these riders really on it at the moment. This big gaggle still pretty much there, and as you say, Josh Williams really struggling at the moment, falling down the order. He was leading this big gaggle earlier in the race, but perhaps was just holding them up a little bit, because ever since he's dropped down the order, the lap times further in front have absolutely dropped, and the fastest lap of the race now, by 2 seconds faster than your race leader Archie Gibbs, is Wilson Dilks. So a purple time for him, 108.1, and we have a rider down now with the 151s. That's the number 41 of Noah Guillory. So he's down, trying to straighten his handlebar there after he falls victim to turn 12. Another victim of turn 12. We've seen so many riders crash there today and this weekend. But Archie Gibbs it is then who still leads. Wilson Dilks now 110.2, so he's just dropped off his pace slightly, but very possibly could catch Ethan Sparks, as he's still a second a lap quicker than him. Yeah, with 3 laps left to go, Wilson Dilks will, if he can maintain this pace, catch Ethan Sparks on the last lap. Really unfortunate there for Noah Guillory, who was running really well up towards the top 6, and unfortunately one of the many riders that has suffered with turn 12 in these conditions. And but the star of the show, who's got to be Archie Gibbs, started from 4th on the grid and hasn't really had the best of weekends. He's been up there but fallen back off the pack, and it looks as though we've got another rider suffering. Thorley Trevorrow still trying to get that bike running. So yes, still trying everything he can to get back into this race is Thorley Trevorrow, but unfortunately he won't be able to maintain the position that he was in, unlike we saw Casey O'Gorman crashing out and able to almost maintain the position he crashed out in. But Archie Gibbs then 109.7 on that last lap. Ethan Sparks responding to the pace of Wilkes and Gibbs with a 109 flat, so some good pace from him. But I think it's going to be a lonely second place for Ethan Sparks. He'll be happy with that. He was leading the championship going into this round, so 20 points on the board for Ethan Sparks will be a very good result in this race, as we have 1.5 laps to go in this race. You can just see there the number 58 of Marco Holt without a front fairing on at the moment, just attacking Archie O'Brien for 4th spot there. Luke Fitchett just behind those guys on the number 7 machine.
Yeah, Archie O'Brien doing a good job, but Marco Holt's going to try and go around the outside of him, and we'll see if Marco can get that move done past Archie O'Brien. That would have been a superb move, and he was very brave indeed. So we've got 1 lap left to go, it seems, and in fact the checkered flag does come out for the riders. So Archie Gibbs takes the win here, a lap earlier, but Archie Gibbs taking the win by a monumental 10-second margin. Really enjoyed these wet conditions. Ethan Sparks does hold on to second. Wilson Dilks, really good result from him, moves up from 6th on the grid into a podium position. Archie O'Brien does hold on to that 4th place, holding off Marco Holt by just over a 10th of a second margin. So Marco really pushing Archie O'Brien into the final stages. Luke Fitchett in 6th, Harry Payne in 7th, Bill Harris in 8th, Joshua Williams not enjoying it, down in 9th, and Keaton Payne rounding out your top 10.
And just for good measure there, Archie Gibbs, you can see there takes the win and just puts in the fastest lap of the race on that last lap. So no one can question his pace. 10 seconds behind him was Ethan Sparks. He'll be happy with that for his championship. Wilson Dilks it was then that took third spot. Good pace from him. Archie O'Brien in fourth. Marco Holt, the number 58 with that helmet that we like so much, in fifth place. Luke Fitch at the number 7 in sixth on the number 7. In number 11, Harry Payne was 7th. And just followed by Bill Harris, number 14. Joshua Williams in 9th. And the number 112 of Keaton Payne rounds out your top 10.
Really strong race there from Archie Gibbs. Really well deserved as well. He's kind of had to stick behind the likes of Ethan Sparks and Archie O'Brien and Joshua Williams as this weekend has gone on. So really well deserved, really enjoyed those conditions. And Archie Gibbs, as you say, absolutely blitzed that last lap going purple, showing that he was pushing right to the very end. A real show of a true racer, not relenting at all. And yeah, even in these conditions with a 10-second gap, he definitely wanted to pick up that extra bonus of saying that you picked up the fastest lap of the race. And yeah, next up after the AC40 Pros, of course, we go to the AC40 Rookies. And these riders indeed will be out there circulating in these tricky conditions. And of course, these riders upwards of 6 years old, and many of them possibly entering their first ever wet weather session. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating race to see who, much like Archie Gibbs in the AC40 Pros, has that wet weather nerve.
Yeah, these riders will have been out watching the AC40 Pros. Very similar bikes to the bikes running in the AC40 Rookies. The only difference is you can run pretty much any Minimoto engine that's air-cooled 40cc in the Pros, and whereas in the Rookies it's a standard Blatter engine. But these guys will have been watching that race to see how these guys, how the Pros were tackling the wet weather conditions here at Lydd. But now it's their turn to get out on track and experience possibly their first ever wet race. So lots of learning for these guys to do. We know for sure that it'll definitely be the first ever wet race for Freddie Bridewell and also for Harrison Day, who's also the son of Josh Day, who we saw in the British Ducati Tri-Options Championship last year, and he managed to take away the championship there last year, and his son racing this weekend. He's also marshalling in this race. We saw earlier on him helping out with some riders who'd crashed out. So good to see some familiar faces from the BSB paddock here at FAB-Racing as well. And what's it like for these younger riders? They're in effectively right at the start of their career, when they see the likes of Tommy Bridewell and Josh Day in the paddock, when these riders are right at that top level. What's it like for a younger rider to see effectively where you want to be? It must be a really good incentive for everyone. Absolutely. I mean, it's exciting for the riders to see these names that they see on TV and they see at the front of British Championship and World Championship and all sorts. But it's also something they get used to in the paddock. The motorcycle racing paddock and the motorcycle racing community is all very close, and they'll get very used to being around the big names and the stars, and you know, everyone, a lot of people know each other, and it's a good community for them to start getting into, and they'll definitely get used to it. Absolutely. And what a better way to get used to your surroundings than by ingratiating yourself with some top level riders, and perhaps even asking them a little bit of information. But it will be on the pole for this one, Finley Polehill, who has had a good weekend so far. Alongside him, Austin Johnson, who perhaps has shades Finley Polehill for decent results. Harrison Day lines up third with Byron Johnson, who had an absolutely mega last race, race 2. Just flew through the field and cut through it like a hot knife through butter, picking up a really strong win. Freddie Bridewell will be in 5th place alongside Oliver Hall. Lewis Hull in 7th with Travis Shaw 8th. Ollie O'Gorman, younger brother of course, Casey in 9th. Chloe Sewell in 10th position, and Zach Penagar in 11th. Finley Polehill it will be then, who will line up on pole position ahead of Austin Johnson. Byron Johnson is in 4th spot, who we saw doing really well in race 1, took the race win and absolutely flying today. So we're underway here for the warm-up lap again, these riders will be feeling where the grip is and how the conditions will be treating this circuit. So big hello to everyone tuning in online. This is the FAB-Racing Minibikes British Championship round 2 here at Lydd, and in case you've missed it, this is the AC40 rookies, and this is the first time that these riders will be riding in wet weather conditions, so a lot of learning going on this grid and a lot of exciting racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bumper-packed, action-packed weekend for these riders. Very warm, sunny conditions yesterday for round 1, and 24 races over round 1, and 24 races over today for round 2, as we fit in the season into a much more condensed fashion. And really good for these riders to effectively see both sides of the track conditions. They had hot, sunny conditions yesterday, and today very much the opposite. You can see the puddles and the standing water. So these AC40 rookies, they'll probably in the long run be pretty happy with the fact that they got this early on and they weren't caught out of it later on, but I'm sure whilst they're around on the circuit and finding the grip levels and finding trying to catch themselves from sliding, they will probably not think so. But yeah, in the long run, positive for these riders. As you see, up to the P1 position does come Finley Polhill, the 199. Alongside him will be the 27, as it looks as though that might be Chloe Sewell, I believe the number 10. The number 101, sorry, who is meant to be lining up in 10th position. I believe she may be suffering with a bike issue towards the second sector of the lap. So hopefully we'll be able to get that sorted, and we'll see if she can get herself back onto row 5 for the start of this one. However, it will be Finley Polhill from Austin Johnson. Harrison Day in a good position in 3rd with Byron Johnson. Watch him in the conditions from 4th place. Freddie Bridewell back in 5th. Oliver Hall in 6th. Lewis Hull 7th. Travis Shaw 8th. Ollie O'Gorman. Chloe Sewell, if she can make the start. And Zach Pennegar in 11th position.
It looks like Chloe Sewell won't be participating in this race. The number 101 unfortunately has to retire from this race before it's even started. So DNS for Chloe Sewell. So very unfortunate for her as we wait for this race to get underway.
Yep. And it will be Finley Polhill looking to add to his wins that he's picked up so far this weekend. But watch out once again for the likes of Austin Johnson and Byron Johnson. Harrison Day will be looking at picking up a decent result. And you can see the riders are about to get going. So yeah, it's a good start, it seems, there for is that Austin Johnson that's managed to take the lead. Finley Polhill, I believe Finley Polhill didn't manage to get off the line properly. He seems to be right down the back end of the grid.
Yeah, so a brilliant start there for Freddie Bridewell to take the lead in this opening lap. Finley Polhill struggling there. You can see him right at the back. You see the fluorescent orange bike right at the back of this pack. And we're seeing a rider unable to finish. That's Harrison Day. That's Josh Day's son there. Unfortunately, not able to finish this race at the moment and struggling with some issues. Hopefully, they can get him back up and running.
Yeah, the bike just coming to a standstill there for Harrison Day. However, up at the front, it's a great start for a number of riders, in fact, and we'll find out when they get to the line. If we see Austin Johnson, looks as though he's currently dropped behind Byron Johnson. So Byron, once again, for another good start.
Just see the marshals running there across the track to come and help Harrison Day try and get started. And you can see Josh Day there just talking to him with his hood up there and trying to help his son get back underway and racing. Chloe Sewell still out of this race. Freddie Bridewell it is, though, that leads across the line for the first time of asking. And really impressed, Gareth, at how these guys are taking to these conditions. You can see they're carrying a good bit of leading angle, really actually finding the grip in this race, considering a lot of them, or if not all of them, won't have ridden in wet weather conditions before.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the rain has stopped, and there's a little bit of a drying line. Of course, just the track getting a little bit more greasy and less standing water. But Freddie Bridewell, a mega start. You can see 2.6 seconds.
Really impressed there, going into the right hand of these riders aren't shy, despite it being their first weekend of recent racing. These riders are getting well versed in the in this sport. So Freddie Bridewell, you can see still with a hefty lead. It was 2.6 seconds over the line, but it looks like the Johnsons are on a charge as well now, just behind. So yeah, brilliant stuff from there. Finley Polhill, you can see now seeming to recover. You can see there on the bright orange livery bike, just making a move, or trying to make a move there into the final corner. So he's on a charge, trying to make up for that poor start to the race.
Yeah, absolutely so. But it is Freddie Bridewell that leads us across the line by a 2.8 second gap over Byron Johnson. Oliver Hall making his way up into third. Fastest lap of the race goes to Finley Polhill. In fact, he's absolutely blitzed at 5 seconds faster than anyone else. So Finley on a charge, the 199 machine, and he's currently in 5th place, closing in on Lewis Hull in 4th place and Oliver Hall in 3rd.
Really impressive from Finley Polhill, really taking to these wet weather conditions and just able to find grip that no one else is finding at the moment, and he's trying to make a move on the far end of the circuit for 4th place there underneath Lewis Hull. Doesn't quite make it stick just yet. He's still really trying to make a move there, but Lewis Hull is trying to make a few moves himself as he tries to go around the outside there and does make it stick. That's they just come up to lap some lap traffic there. I believe that's Travis Shaw just being lapped there by these guys. Freddie Bridewell still is then that leads 2.8 second gap over Byron Johnson, who won race 1. In 3rd place is the number 3 of Oliver Hall at the moment. The number 5 in 4th spot, Lewis Hull, just trying to fend off Finley Polhill at the moment. But you can see Polhill has made his way through now, so he's trying. His next target is Byron Johnson. So Finley Polhill up into 3rd spot, 1:15.6 on that last lap. Still the fastest rider on circuit at the moment, and still with the fastest lap of the race. He's trying to go around the outside, and does. He makes it stick up into the cane. So Finley Polhill up into 2nd position now. So brilliant stuff from Finley after recovering after a difficult start to this race. Is absolutely turning his race around and has got his sights set on Freddie Bridewell. Now 3-second gap from Freddie to Byron it was on the, over the line. But what can Finley do about that lead? We've seen how fast Finley is running in this race, but yeah, and you can visibly see that gap to Freddie now is really coming down, and we see a crash there. Turn 12 takes another victim there. I believe that was Lewis Hull going down there at turn 12, so unfortunate for him. Turn 12 takes another victim, as we've seen so many times today, so unfortunate end for the race for him. But Finley Polhill who's absolutely on a charge, trying to catch Freddie Bridewell, and Freddie Bridewell responds with the fastest lap of the race. But Finley Polhill set a blistering lap on that last lap, a 1:11.8. So really finding some pace here, absolutely flying at the moment, and will find his way past Freddie Bridewell. 3 laps to go here for these guys, so plenty of time and Freddie Bridewell goes down and nearly takes Polhill with him. So Bridewell trying to get back on that bike, and they're trying to get restarted. He's in 3rd position still at the moment, but he needs to get that bike restarted before he can restart this race. So Finley Polhill taking the race lead after Freddie Bridewell crashes out. Freddie Bridewell is back underway in this race, so we'll be looking to try and absolutely limitate the damage that he's suffered from that crash. He's shaking his head, absolutely disappointed with that from himself, but this is something the rider's going to have to learn. Crashes do happen, Gareth, and it is going to be something that they're going to have to get used to.
Absolutely so, and we're coming round with 2 laps to go, and Finley Polhill has been on fire for the last few laps, and yeah, Freddie Bridewell will be absolutely devastated. That was in a really strong position. Finley Polhill was starting to close in, but yeah, Finley now drops down, moves up into the lead pretty comfortably, as Freddie Bridewell will be hoping to recover some lost places. Byron Johnson moving up into 2nd place, and that should promote Lewis Hull into a current podium place for the number 5 rider. But Finley Polhill is definitely the rider that is enjoying these conditions, and after a slow start, Finley making his way through the field, and you can say just finding the grip where no one else has managed to find it, and comfortably setting some really strong laps. In fact, Lewis Hull on that last lap 2 seconds faster than Finley Polhill, so Lewis Hull starting to pick up a little bit of pace. We've got A lap and a half left to go in this one. It looks as though Finley has got a comfortable lead. It's a 7.5 second gap he's got over Byron Johnson in second. Byron Johnson once again looking at picking up a really strong result when he's had a really good day today, and we're about to finish off the AC40 rookie class race 3 here, round 2 in Lydd. And it is looking like Finley Polehill, if all goes to plan, over the next kilometre and kilometre and a bit, and he will be looking at taking, as he takes the last lap flag there, Finley Polehill will know just one more tour around this circuit and he'll be able to pick up another victory in the AC40 rookie class. And it's been a masterful drive from him, just so commanding, so clear, just to make his way back through the field and just make overtakes as and when they became apparent. And yeah, it's been a great ride there for Finley, and if all goes well, he was as he approaches the long hairpin at the back end of the circuit, he should be coming home to pick up another victory on the season, and an absolutely well-deserved one from the rider in the fluoro orange bike. And he is really, look at that gap, 9.6 seconds he's now got himself between first and second, Byron Johnson. So Finley Polehill doing very nicely indeed. Of course, we've seen in the past it closes up right at the last, but Lewis Hull in fact is on the push on this last lap, closed in to within half a second of Byron Johnson. He's got a really good run on him down the back straight, and it's going to be close between the pair of them going down into the infield hairpin section. Lewis Hull looking at picking up a podium, and he's going to push Byron Johnson right to the very last. There's almost contact between the two, and in fact it looks as though Lewis Hull might have just been bounced off a little bit, but it's around the final corner. Across the line comes Finley Polehill for the victory. What a win for the young man, the 199. Byron Johnson is looking as though he's going to come home in second place, adding to his points tally, and probably a frustrated Lewis Hull in third, but a great podium for the number 5. Austin Johnson, the 27, is back in fourth place and a little bit further down, but Austin Johnson still picking up some solid points in the championship. Freddie Bridewell should recover back to fifth place, so even after that fall, in fact he drops down to sixth. So Zach Panegar picking up a good result there, started last on the grid in 11th place, and Zach Panegar coming home in fifth. So some good points there for the 134 Zach Panegar, and but the man of the moment is very much Finley Polehill.
Yeah, absolutely. Managed to set a pace that no one really could match. He caught up to Freddie Bridewell. Unfortunately, Freddie had a little bit of a crash and then fell down the order. So very unfortunate for him, because he was looking very good to pick up a podium in this race. And some riders are still completing this race and taking the checkered flag. But all of these riders will have learnt so much just from that one race, that first race for them in the wet, and they'll be able to carry that experience on now into the rest of the season. So it'll be brilliant to see how these riders progress throughout the season. We'll be keeping an eye on all of them and be eager to see them move up into the AC40 Pros later in the year.
Absolutely so, but it is Finley Polehill that takes the win, and 8 minutes and 56 seconds, a very good time to get this done in these wet conditions for the 199. Byron Johnson in second, Lewis Hull coming home and picking up his first podium of the season in third, Austin Johnson back in fourth with Zach Panegar in fifth, Travis Shaw in sixth place, Oliver Hall in seventh, and unfortunately Freddie Bridewell and Harrison Day unable to make the finish. And unfortunately for those two, it was just issues, and Freddie Bridewell, another rider that will be pretty upset with what was just a slight mistake, but in these conditions completely understandable.
Absolutely, it was such an easy mistake to make. He was doing really well up until that point, so he shouldn't be too disheartened with himself. Of course he will be, because racers always want more, but definitely he's learnt a lot from that race, and so is Harrison Day there. So all these riders always learning, so brilliant stuff from them. As we move from the juniors, the complete rookies, now we are moving to the senior mini motos. These guys are on slightly faster mini motors than we've just seen. These are on liquid cooled 40cc 2-stroke or 90cc 4 strokes, although most riders on the grid opt for the 40cc 2-stroke option. You can see these guys just waiting in pit lane now to go out for their race. The senior mini moto race, we've seen some exciting action. Their race 1 today was in slightly wet conditions and was an absolute crash fest, so hopefully more riders can stay on their bikes in this one. The second race was also really enthralling. That was a dry one. Will Howarth took the win. He's your championship leader at the moment, but it's all between him and Bernie Hook, sharing the spoils so far this weekend. So this could be a really good opportunity for the field to get with Will Howarth. We know how quick he is and quick and consistent he is in the dry. So now the rest of the field can try and have a good look at him in wet conditions, as he might be a little bit tentative after his crash earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn 12 was where a lot of riders went down earlier today in that quick rain shower that we had in the morning, and that was the only real rain affected race this morning, and unfortunately it was the senior mini motos that suffered that. And yeah, drama in the last lap, because Bernie Hook, who ended up coming home and taking the victory, actually lost and fell at turn 12, managed to get back on the bike and come home and still cross the line in first position. But as you say, it was a race full of drama, full of excitement, a lot of riders going down in the greasy circuit, and we've already got a rider down, and it looks as though it is Will Howarth.
Yeah, those are the black Alpine style leathers of Will Howarth, the number 96 there, confirming on the tail. Also opting not to run a front fairing. I don't know if that's some preference for the wet weather conditions, but it hasn't worked for Will Howarth as he lifts his bike up onto the sides of the circuit there. He's unfortunate for Will Howarth. So that'll be two non-score finishes for Will Howarth, so he won't be finishing this race, unfortunately. So this is a perfect opportunity for Bernie Hook to capitalise on this and close down that championship lead.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is best case scenario for Bernie Hook. His championship rival unable to make the start, so Bernie Hook will have a good run. The number 0 rider down to turn 1. Alongside him will be Matt Birkin and Josh Birkin behind. So yeah, Bernie Hook has got the outside line, Matt Birkin the inside line. Who gets the run down to turn 1? The riders look to the lights, getting ready to finish the final race of the weekend for the senior mini motos, and it's just on the inside between Matt Birkin. He goes to the grass, he did a cut across the field. Bernie Hook retakes the lead. Contact between Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin. Matt Birkin doing an absolute marvellous job to stay on the bike, but Bernie Hook holding on to the lead of this one.
Yeah, it looks like Birkin wanted to do a little bit of motocrossing as he went into the first chicane there. So a bit of a scary moment there for Birkin, but it's Bernie Hook that holds on to the lead at the moment, the number 0. You're just seeing there's some wet weather tactics there. Marco Pandolfo just dropping the outside leg there, trying to get a little bit of a flexibility and bringing his hip round the side and the inside of that bike. So some wet weather tactics going on here. You can just see heading down into the infield section. Birkin is trying to make up as many positions as he can, and he's now finding his way up into 4th spot. Bernie Hook still leading this race and looking good in the opening stages of this one.
Coming across the line to finish the first lap, it is Bernie Hook from Josh Birkin. Matt Birkin back in 3rd, Nick Bennett now in 4th, Marco Pandolfo in 5th, Craig Ashall and Ashton Dean in 6th and 7th. And but yeah, perfect start for Bernie Hook, especially with Will Howarth unable to make the start. Matt Birkin on an absolute charge. The bike seems to be hasn't seemed to be in a straight line the entire time this race has been going on, but he's been sending it, trying to find the grip, and much later on the brakes compared to everyone else. But you can see there's this top 4 breakaway with Hook, Birkin and Bennett all battling over this lead. And well, we saw earlier on with the conditions that a lot of riders, especially struggling into this turn 12, which they go through now, and it looks as though Josh Birkin's had a nice run on Bernie Hook, but Bernie Hook managed to open the throttle a bit sooner. But here comes back Birkin, and down, almost down, he loses once again. That's the second time in 2 races into that corner. He just loses balance on the bike, and he finds himself back down in 4th position once again, with a couple of places to make back up.
Yeah, Matt Birkin now is just going to have to regroup, settle into this race. He's had 2 hairy moments now, so he just needs to make sure he keeps it nice and smooth, doesn't do anything rash. He will be a bit frustrated because he knows he can be higher up at this point if he hadn't made those 2 mistakes, but he needs to keep calm and make sure he can get through these riders. Bernie Hook now really coming under attack from the number 4 there of Josh Birkin. Nick Bennett doing well to find himself up into 3rd place, and with currently the fastest lap of the race. with a 105.1 for Nick Bennett. So a brilliant ride from him at the moment. You can see there with the multicoloured Alpine Stars leathers. But all these riders getting real close to each other, all trying to find a way past. You can see Matt Birkin trying to go round the outside and does a brilliant job round the outside from turn 11 into turn 12. But Nick Bennett trying to find a way back past Birkin. It doesn't make it stick, but the two Birkins now are side by side, and now everything is happening all at once here. But Matt Birkin has just managed to get ahead of Josh Birkin and just onto the back wheel of Bernie Hook. So don't look behind you, Bernie, because there's a good gaggle of riders trying to find their way through. Matt Birkin now, what can he do about the number 0 of Bernie Hook?
Matt Birkin has been sniffing a race win all weekend long, and this might be his best opportunity. He looks to go to the outside of Bernie Hook. He's going to switch back to the inside line. He's going to go for the position and takes it. What a move there from Matt Birkin. He has, ever since he lost balance earlier on, has been right on it. Bernie Hook's about to lose another position to Josh Birkin. Matt Birkin doing a fastest lap of 104.3, comfortably a second faster than anyone else. Matt Birkin absolutely on fire in this one, making up a couple of positions, and really brave, especially into the hairpin section in the infield. And hopefully, if all goes well, should be picking up his first win of the season. We've got 5 laps left to go, coming up to 4. Bernie Hook is currently down now in 3rd position, but you've got Matt Birkin. What a couple of laps we've had from the number 5.
Yeah, and the two Birkins have gone off together now. Matt Birkin towing Josh in this race. Looks like Bernie Hook just struggling for pace now as Nick Bennett takes 3rd place away from Bernie Hook. So Bernie Hook dropping down the order, not able to capitalise too much on Will Howarth being out of this race. Of course, he will still bring down the championship lead as we see chase for the lead, and a crash there for almost a crash, but he managed to save it. Marc Marquez style there for Josh Birkin. The number 4 just manages to save it, and then wheel-to-wheel action there again from Nick Bennett to take 2nd place away from Josh Birkin. So Matt Birkin now with a comfortable lead over Bennett, and the number 4 of Josh Birkin is going to have to try and find his way back past Nick Bennett and see if he can get back onto the back wheel of Matt Birkin. But just got to be careful not to have any more hairy moments there. So the hairy moment count between the two Birkins is absolutely stacking up as this race goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. So both of them have spent more time sideways than actually on 2 wheels, it seems, over this one. And we go on to 3 laps left to go in this one. And it's Matt Birkin who is setting some blistering times out there. Nick Bennett now up into 2nd place. Josh Birkin back down to 3rd after that quick slide on the exit of turn 5. And he is going to look at closing in and making it a Birkin 1-2. But Nick Bennett is doing very nicely indeed.
Nick Bennett has run on there, so he's just made a mistake going into the 2nd chicane now as he goes into turn 6. Josh Birkin will have a little bit of breathing space now after that mistake from Nick Bennett. So we're seeing a lot of these riders struggling with these conditions, making quite a few mistakes, almost crashing, but just about managing to stay on the bike.
Yeah, doing a good job of it, especially in that turn 12 that everyone seems to come up a cropper so far today. You can see knee right on the floor there for Matt Birkin as he goes tight on the apex into the infield section. And Matt will be eyeing up this first win of the weekend, and he would have deserved this one because he's done very, very well. Took to the grass off the start after trying to take the lead off of Bernie Hook, but with 2 laps left to go, it's Matt Birkin in the lead of this one by 2.1 seconds to Josh Birkin. Nick Bennett a further 2.8 seconds back, holding on to the 3rd place on the podium. Bernie Hook is fallen right down off of this, and Bernie possibly suffering with something with the bike because he's now 13 seconds.
That's Matt Birkin who's gone down now, so we have a change. Josh Birkin now has the lead of this race. A crash from Matt Birkin. I think we might have just jinxed him there, saying a lot of mistakes but no crashes. Well, that is one of the crashes in this race then. Matt Birkin has gone down and has allowed Josh Birkin through to take the lead of this race. So drama happening constantly in this race.
Yeah, you look at one screen and you don't see the other, and it's all happening, as you say, all at once. and it's the Birkin swap in position for first and second, and I'm sure Matt will be desperately trying to close back in. It's the number 4 leading from the number 5, and watch, because you can see Matt already starting to close back in on Josh, so he's obviously got the pace in these conditions. So it's going to be a very, very tasty last lap as they get the last lap flag, and you can see it's going to be Matt Birkin and Josh Birkin across the line. Josh Birkin does a 1:02.986, 3 seconds.
Oh, and he has a big moment, and he's down. That's the race leader down and out of this race on the last lap. So Matt Birkin now has the lead. Nick Bennett he will get up into second place, and Josh Birkin now down into third. So drama happening in this race non-stop.
What is it about the senior mini motos with last lap action? We've had it, and you've got to think that the two Birkins, between the fair share of them, have pretty much taken some sort of fall in every single race so far this weekend. But what a race it's been, and incidents and drama galore, but it's going to be a fantastic end to this one. Nick Bennett is still trying to close in the final stages, and it's the number 5 Matt Birkin, who probably thought with 2 laps left to go that he'd thrown away the race win, and he's just going to navigate the final 2 corners and come around the final one, come across the line, and what a win, what a race there for Matt Birkin. Nick Bennett just misses out. He comes across the line, the 7.11 in second, and behind it's Josh Birkin currently from Bernie Hook. We'll see if they maintain those positions across the line, and yeah, what a race. Josh Birkin does hold on to third place. Bernie Hook should be coming across the line very shortly. Has he been jumped by? No, he does hold on to 4th position. So Bernie Hook in 4th, Craig Ashall in 5th, Ashton Dean in 6th, and Holly Harris in 7th. Unfortunately, we lost Marco Pandolfo earlier on in this one, but what a race. What a race for Matt Birkin.
Yeah, brilliant race for Matt Birkin. Managed to crash and still win the race. So yeah, brilliant stuff from him. I'm sure he couldn't believe his eyes when he saw Josh crash the first corner on the last lap. So he's going to take a brilliant win there. Nick Bennett, he's going to be really happy with second place. That's the first time we've seen him take a podium this weekend. So brilliant stuff from him. Josh Birkin, you've got to think he's going to be happy with the podium. But I think going on to that last lap, he thought he was going to win it, and will definitely be disappointed that he didn't manage to snatch that win. Bernie Hook didn't manage to capitalise too much on the absence of Will Howarth, but still great points for the championship, and will close down that championship lead. So a good result for Bernie Hook, although he probably will have wanted more.
Yeah, absolutely so. So Bernie Hook does extend his lead in the Senior Mini Motos Championship going into round 3 in just a few short weeks' time, whereas we'd expect to see probably exactly the same, but Matt and Josh Birkin have put on a real show in the Senior Mini Motos over today, and these conditions have definitely amped up that excitement. Really well done to Nick Bennett. First podium for him, the 711 machine, and he picks up second place. Josh Birkin back in third, and probably a little bit red-faced for Josh, because he probably thought he had that win in the bag, and then unfortunately that's quite a heavy fall for him. Back on the bike as soon as possible, and still manages to come home with a podium. So not the worst case scenario for Josh Birkin.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure anyone actually wanted to win that race. They were all sort of throwing it at the fence and doing everything they could to let the other guys through. But Matt Birkin, despite his few hairy moments and his crash, did manage to take that win. But now we look to the LC40 Elites. Similar bikes to what we've just seen, but with much smaller riders on them. These are the junior riders looking up to progress in their careers. This is their final championship, and the highest ranking championship for the juniors on these mini motos before they make their step up onto the geared bikes. It's be Josh Bannister, the number 2, with the British Talent Cup leathers on pole position, just ahead of Ryan Hitchcock, who we saw take a win earlier on today. Samuel Munson will be lining up third place on the grid, the number 72. We've seen him in a few races today, as well as the Rapid Fulfillment liveried bike of the number 99 Warwick Brady, who we saw perform really well earlier on in the MK Gp50 class. And number 76 of Charlie Huntingford was leading the championship going into this round. He lines up in 5th spot on the grid, but it looks like we've got that Joshua Williams, who's coming out of pit lane there, and is slightly late to the grid there, so we'll have to the grid will have to wait for him to finish his formation lap as he comes round to the grid. And we also have a rider down there. That's the Rapid Fulfillment liveried bike there. That's Warwick Brady down and trying to get his bike restarted so he can join this race. So unfortunate for Warwick Brady. We were just singing his praises there of how well he did earlier on in the GP50 class. Hopefully we didn't jinx him on that one.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, you could see just the look to just towards the camera, just a frustration in his eyes as yeah, he's probably eyeing up a good result in this one because yeah, he's had a really strong day, has Warwick Brady, and yeah, frustration not able to get the bike. And it seems a lot of these mini moto riders struggling to get the bikes working in the rain out there. So yeah, we've seen a lot of the mini motos struggle to make it round even out of the pit lane to the grid. So
you can see there Spud Nesbitt just helping out Warwick Brady to try and get back on track, just tilting the bike up, trying to get any fluid that might be not welcomed out of that bike. So yeah, you can see the Rapid Fulfillment bike there, Warwick Brady, Charlie Nesbitt just helping him get the bike out of the way there. So yeah, Charlie Nesbitt doing a good job in all forms this weekend, taking some race wins and now doing some marshalling. So great to see.
Yeah, absolutely, helping out the younger generation, which is always good to see from multiple race winners and a role model for a lot of these riders out there. So yeah, it's going to be unfortunate for Warwick. It looks like Warwick Brady will not be able to make the start. So it will be Josh Bannister and Ryan Hitchcock on the front row for this one. Samuel Munson in third, no Warwick Brady in fourth place. So that means that Charlie Huntingford in fifth, Josh Williams in sixth, and then Marco Holt behind them, of course, in that Green Monsters Inc. inspired Lydd. Behind that, we've got the likes of Archie O'Brien. Luke Fitchett, I believe, is in ninth position, and Archie Gibbs back in 10th place, rounding out the top 10.
Archie Gibbs, we saw how strong he was in the wet earlier on the AC40 Pro, so we could expect to see him climbing up the order. We're having reports that the rain is starting to come in again and starting to get a little bit heavier now again, but it looks like all eyes to the flag, and they're away here for the third race of the day for the LC40 Elites. Josh Bannister, it looks like he got a really good start there and a little bit of breathing space already. No, Ryan Hitchcock takes the lead as they go into the chicane. So Ryan Hitchcock on the number 43, finding the grip really early on in this race. Samuel Munson falling back through the pack. You can just see the number 58 there trying to have a go at him. That's Marco Holt trying to have a go at Samuel Munson there, the number 72. Charlie Huntingford, you can see just behind them there with the blue leathers, just being chased down there by Archie O'Brien as well.
Yeah, Marco Holt, really good start there. You can see very strong in these conditions. Seemingly was right on the tail of the rider ahead, and it's the 72 of Samuel Munson. And Marco just having a quick look to the inside as they get into the infield section. Sam is going to have a bit of a handful. You can see Marco gets a run up the inside and takes the position. Great move there from Marco Holt as they exit the final part of the infield section. But across the line is Ryan Hitchcock setting 107 flat, 0.6 of a second faster than Josh Bannister. Marco Holt now up into third place. Samuel Munson down in fourth. Charlie Huntingford in fifth. Archie O'Brien in sixth. Joshua Williams in seventh. Dorley Trevorrow in eighth. And Luke Fitchett back in ninth.
Terrible start for Joshua Williams, unfortunately, from sixth down into seventh place. Seems to be struggling a little bit with these wet weather conditions, but hopefully he can get to grips with them a little bit better in this race. These riders, of course, learning all the time. As we just look on screen at the number 72 there of Samuel Munson. Marco Holt there in the distance is absolutely running away with this third place and has completely gapped the Munson burner there. But just as I say that, Marco Holt has gone down at the left-hander just before the back straight there. So that's the number 58 of Marco Holt. He's back running in this race, so he's going to be on an absolute charge now to try and make up the positions he's lost from that crash. So that promotes Samuel Munson back up onto the podium. So third place currently for Samuel Munson, but he's coming under attack here from the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford. Championship leader going into this round, and he's going to be eager to take that third spot away from Samuel Munson.
We've seen Ryan Hitchcock really extend leads in the races so far over the opening 2 days, and once again 2 seconds a lap faster than Josh Bannister in second, so he's already stretched this gap out to 3.7 seconds. So Ryan Hitchcock enjoying himself out there at the moment. Josh Bannister and Sam Munson making out the second and third position. Charlie Huntingford hoping for a podium. Archie O'Brien back in fifth. Josh Williams in sixth, and Luke Fitchett with Thorley Trevorrow behind. Marco Holt unfortunately falling to the back after that fall, but annoyingly for Marco, I think he probably thought he was well in with a shout of a podium there, but just the slightest of a mistake, very easy to do so. And you could see the rain is starting to come down pretty heavily once again, so the riders out there will have to negotiate not only a tricky surface but also visibility issues.
Yeah, absolutely. With the rain coming down harder and harder, it's going to be harder for these guys to see where they're going, especially for the likes of Charlie Huntingford and Archie O'Brien, who are getting spray off the riders in front. He's going to want to find his way through Samuel Munson so he can have some nice clear vision and have a good crack at catching Josh Bannister in second. But Josh quite a far way up the road at the moment. These two riders at the front, Ryan Hitchcock and Josh Bannister, really in a level of their own. And Ryan Hitchcock really raising the bar here. Good 106.5 on that last lap. A good second and a half quicker than Josh Bannister, who's a good few seconds quicker than Samuel Munson. So these two guys at the front are really trying hard. Marco Holt now has caught these guys and is absolutely flying. 107.2 on that last lap. So absolutely quite a bit quicker than the riders in front. He's right on the back wheel of Archie O'Brien now, and will be looking to find a way through these guys up onto a podium position. So these guys are really going to have to defend hard because Marco Holt is really trying to get through that, and he's looking to make a move there on Archie O'Brien. Has he made it stick? No, not quite yet. Yes, and we just have that's Thorley Trevorrow there having some issues. He was having some issues earlier on as well, so unfortunate, very unlucky day for Thorley Trevorrow, but it just looked like Marco Holt was trying to make his way through on some of the riders there. So interesting to see how he's done that. Yes, he's through on Archie O'Brien, and also don't discount Luke Fitchett, the number 7. He's right on the back of these guys as well, so he could come into play for this podium fight as well. So Samuel Munson, it still is that leads the battle for third. Charlie Huntingford right on the back wheel of him, but Marco Holt it is who's on an absolute charge at the moment. Yeah, Marco Holt seemingly with so much more confidence into these corners than the riders ahead of Charlie Huntingford and Sam Munson, and you can see just finding grip out there and trying to get a run on the riders ahead, but Ryan Hitchcock has checked out to a 6.2 second lead over Josh Bannister, and those two have driven away from the rest of the field. It's a 21 second gap between second and third, so the pair of those two, although Josh unable to stay with Ryan, as Marco once again looks to the inside into the first hairpin. Can he once again replicate what we saw a lap ago? But not quite. So Marco still in the hunt for this third place. Samuel Munson holding on to it, but it's heating up. We've got 3 laps left to go, and the battle for the podium is 5 bikes strong. He's having a good look at the final corner there. No way through, unfortunately, just yet for Marco Holt. Charlie Huntingford covers his line really well through that final corner, but with 3 laps to go of this race, Marco Holt is really looking in a good place to try and get past these riders. Samuel Munson doing a brilliant job in third place to defend from the charging riders behind him, but Luke Fitchett still there on the back of this group. So what can we see from him coming towards the end of this race? 2.5 laps to go then for these guys as they head into the little complex before the back straight one more time. Marco Holt looking very menacing right on the back wheel of the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford there with the blue leathers. So Marco Holt with the Monster Inc. inspired helmet that we've been talking about all day, really on a charge and looking up the inside, trying to make a move stick on the infield section. Nearly gets it done, and he does. He makes it stick. So Marco Holt up into 4th place, demoting Charlie Huntingford to 5th, and his sights are set now on the podium. He wants to take 3rd place away from Samuel Munson, and as they come across the line once more, 2 laps to go for Marco Holt to try and make a move on Samuel Munson. What can Charlie Huntingford and Luke Fitchett do just behind them? as well. So where do you think Marco Holt is going to try and make this move then, Gareth?
It's just fascinating watching Marco Holt, because remember, he's already had a fall in this race, back up, and he's just been on it ever since. And I mean, Ryan Hitchcock is clearly on another level in this. He's 11 seconds up the road from Josh Bannister, but Marco Holt is he's doing everything you need. He's in that pack. It's just about finding the right place to get the move done. He's very, very cautiously but very, very smartly made his way. He's not throwing it into any corners. He's always favouring this first hairpin. So watch it come up very shortly. He's in the toe once again. He's going to pull to the inside. Does he go down the inside of Sam Munson into the hairpin? Sam hugs the apex, and he's going to make Marco go the long way around. But once again, you can see Marco with so much more confidence in this infield section, and he's right on the back of Sam Munson as they come around to the second to last corner. But Ryan Hitchcock, what can you say? An absolute superlative drive so far. 15 seconds he's got over second place Josh Bannister.
Yeah, he's virtually half a second ahead, or sorry, right, half a lap rather, ahead of that battle for third that we were just watching, in an absolute league of his own. So is Josh Bannister, a lonely second for him. We haven't spoken much about him. He's had a very unlucky weekend, but he'll be really happy to pick up a second place here. No one could quite catch Ryan Hitchcock in this race, but Josh Bannister also setting a blistering pace there to keep that lonely second place. The number 2 in second place, but Ryan Hitchcock is then who's navigating his way around the final corner for the final time in the final race for this LC40 Elites, and he does a little wheelie across the line and takes the win. So Ryan Hitchcock, absolutely brilliant ride for Ryan Hitchcock to take that win. It will be Josh Bannister, the number 2, up onto second position. But what can Marco Holt do now about Samuel Munson? Munson's done a brilliant job to defend, and there is your race leader, the number 43 there. He is your race winner. But what can Marco Holt do? Can he take this third place away from Samuel Munson? It's going to be a drive to the line. Who's going to get it? It's between Munson, and Holt gets it on the line. Brilliant stuff from Marco Holt right at the end by putting 0.005 a second. Unfortunately, that is the number 7 there who's crashed out right at the end. That's Luke Fitchett, who we were seeing, who was right on the back of that. So he's crashed out after the line actually there. So thankfully he managed to get past the line and finish that race, but I'm sure a crash after the line isn't what he would have wanted. Unfortunate for Samuel Munson, he did a really good job of covering his lines all the way through that racing. Was in third place for a very long time, but yeah, Marco Holt into third place after that crash earlier on in the race. Brilliant ride for him. He'll be kicking himself to wonder what he could have done if he didn't had that crash earlier on. He was the fastest rider on circuit on that last lap, but the fastest rider overall was Ryan Hitchcock.
Yep. Absolutely stunning race there for Ryan Hitchcock, taking the win by almost 20 seconds. Josh Bannister coming home in second place, but yeah, an absolutely superbly deserved third place. Marco Holt, I was watching out to the commentary box window, and he was closing in, and it looked as though he had the move on the exit of the second hairpin. Got up alongside Samuel Munson, and Sam just closing the door, but Marco just reset himself, got up the inside, and that dragged to the line, and taking the third place finish by 0.005 of a second. It was that close. Yeah, Marco Holt really, really deserving of that podium, but what a race from Ryan Hitchcock. Josh Bannister, you have to say congratulations to him. A little bit of a race on his own, 19 seconds behind, but a good, strong result, picking up another good podium. And we can now hear the Pit Bike 140s and the moto teams heading out on circuit. And of course, they were one of the first classes out there to really taste what this wet weathers were like. So one of those riders that had a great race was Iona Glover, finishing in third position. So you've got to fancy her once again for a decent run in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. After that last race, you can sure she'll have been doing the rain dance for this final race for the Pit Bike 140s and moto team. Brilliant ride from her to pick up her first podium this year. So brilliant to see from her, but also another rider who was absolutely flying. The rider you just see go through the shot there, the number 76, that is Jamie King, suffering from a broken rib this weekend after a crash yesterday, but it didn't stop him getting a win earlier on today. Possibly, if he is suffering from any pain at the moment. The wet weather conditions will help him with that, as they are quite a bit less physical for a rider, but it certainly helped him get a win earlier on today. Will Howarth then, he will line up second place, which is essentially pole, because Charlie Nesbitt, we saw, is now on some marshalling duties, so Charlie Nesbitt not lining up on pole position for this race. It will be the 96 of Will Howarth who's going to lead this race on the grid. He's also the current championship leader and the race leader for the Moto team, but it looks like we're having someone's having a bit of an issue at the back of the grid. They're trying to kickstart their PB140 in the background there. We're just focusing in on that rider, so disaster already for one of these riders. But all eyes to the flag now. As you can see there, they're absolutely underway. That is the Will Howarth who's taking the lead of this race, and Jamie King just slotting into second position on the number 76, but he's definitely doesn't look happy with that second position as he goes round the outside. What a move from Jamie King, round the outside into the second chicane. Brilliant stuff from him. The number 76 takes the lead of this race. We saw how fast he was earlier on today, and he's already absolutely gone. He's left Will Howarth for dead. Will Howarth will still be leading the Moto team race, and Jamie King leading the pit bike 140s and the overall race here at the moment.
Yeah, what a move there for Jamie King around the outside of Will Howarth, and as you can see, already Jamie King is stretching out a lead over the Moto team bike of Will Howarth. Cameron Wybrow in third position, Jack Andrews in fourth, and then comes Jason Pugh, the second rider on the Moto team bike, and Greg Pym behind, but Jamie King comes across the line 54.8 off the standing start. Will Howarth is 2.8 seconds back, so Jamie King is absolutely loving these wet conditions compared to what we saw from him in the dry.
Yeah, absolutely. And another rider that's really loving these wet conditions is the number 76. You can just as I say that, he's pushed wide there by the number 14 of Jack Andrews. So Jack Andrews we saw very fast earlier on today, and Callum Webber really loving these wet conditions. So a change for second place there as Jack Andrews makes his way under, and so does Callum Wybrow, makes their way through Will Howarth, who's struggling here. He's still leading the Moto team race, so he'll still be picking up 25 points in that championship, providing that he's not caught by the number 8 of Jason Pugh, who won earlier on in the wet race for the Moto team.
Vince Bailey making a good start up to fifth position. As you can see across the line comes Jamie King, a 52.7. He's currently 3 seconds a lap faster than anyone else on circuit. He's already got a 6-second gap over Jack Andrews and Callum Wybrow in second and third. Will Howarth now down to fourth, and he's going to have to battle with Jason Pugh for the lead of the Moto team class. Jason Pugh and Vince Bailey. Good start from the 369. He is currently third in class. Cameron Horseman is in seventh place, with Greg Pym back in eighth, Roger Monk and Jona Glover back in 10th position.
Yeah, you've got to think, you can see Cameron Horseman there trying to make a move up the inside of one of the Moto team riders there. He's trying to find his way through the field, and you've got to think that he's going to be able to do it. We saw how fast he was earlier on. You can see him there with the British Talent Cup leathers and the green flashes on the helmet. But at the moment, Jamie King, no one can quite match that pace. They're getting slightly closer to the pace that he's matching, but by the time they're able to match it, they won't be able to catch him at all, because they're still over a second a lap slower than Jamie King. So 7.1 second lead for Jamie King. No chance of anyone to close that down. Well, there's 7 laps to go, but very unlikely for these guys. So that's the number 92 just having a few problems there and unable to rejoin this race. That's Elliot Crosby, unfortunately having some issues there. I think might have been the rider we saw having some issues at the back of the grid earlier on in this race as well. So it still is the number 76 of Jamie King absolutely flying at the front of this one. Will Howarth just holding on to the lead of the Moto team grid, but coming under some pressure here as Jason Pugh and Vince Bailey are catching up Will Howarth, so he could lose the lead of the Moto team race as well.
Yeah, Will Howarth It's the first real time he's come under threat in the motor team class in this race. So he's always really been at the front with the likes of Charlie Nesbitt and Brad Ray earlier on in the weekend. And so maybe the wet conditions not suiting his driving style and falling back a little bit. And the man, it's just, Jamie King is just on another planet at the moment, just setting fast laps and just driving away. He's currently got a 7-second lead. We've got 6 laps left to go in this one. Jack Andrews will be happy with currently second place, and Callum Wybrow equally back in third. If you're Jason Pugh and Vince Bailey, you've got to think that Will Howarth is there for the taking.
Absolutely, yeah. They'll have their sights completely set on taking a race win here in the Moto Team class, and Will Howarth, considering how dominant he's been in this class so far this weekend, they'll be absolutely ecstatic to be able to get in front of him. But it's all yet to be done for these guys. Cameron Horseman has managed to get through Pugh and Bailey, so in between Will Howarth and Jason Pugh at the moment is Cameron Horseman, so he stands in the way of them taking their win as well. But it looks like Cameron Horseman does have the pace to get through on Will Howarth as well. He was right on his back wheel and absolutely charging through the field. He takes the inside line there, but that's GP50 fairly quick in a straight line, but Cameron Horseman does manage to make it stick through that section. You can see Will Howarth there being fairly cautious through that section. I suppose he knows he's got a hefty lead in this championship and doesn't need to risk too much, but if he takes it too easy, he's going to have to answer to Jason Pugh and Vince Bailey. Yeah,
exactly. That's what Will Howarth has got to think. He's purely got to think about his championship and picking up as many points as possible, and currently leading that Moto Team class to Jason Pugh and Vince Bailey behind. Jamie King extends his lead to 8 seconds. Jack Andrews back in second, Callum Wybrow in third. But as you say, Cameron Horseman, the only rider out on circuit that's starting to match Jamie King's pace. So Cameron is closing in right up on Callum Wybrow for third place at the moment. So we could see a change for the podium coming up very, very shortly as Cameron Horseman closes in on the 67 of Callum Wybrow as they circulate in around about a second and a half off of Jamie King, who's just gone purple with a 51.9. So dipping into the 51s. What a lap from Jamie King. He's just going quicker and quicker. Jack Andrews comes across the line in second. Callum Wybrow and Cameron Horseman changed positions. So Cameron Horseman now up into the podium positions, gets past Callum Wybrow's PB 140, and Cameron Horseman now finds himself on the podium 4 seconds away from Jack Andrews and well within a shot of chasing him down.
Yeah, with 3 laps to go here, anything is possible. He's setting a blistering pace, is Cameron Horseman, but so is Jack Andrews. Jack Andrews isn't hanging about at all, so a tall order for Cameron to go and catch Jack Andrews, but definitely not impossible. One man, though, it is looking impossible to catch is Jamie King. He now has a 9.4 second lead as he finishes this lap and goes on to the penultimate lap of this race. Broken collarbone isn't holding Jamie King back at all. He's absolutely flying, setting a really nice, fast and consistent pace here at the front. It's going to be a very tall order to be able to catch him. Just on our screens now is the number 134 of Iona Glover. She did really well earlier on to take a podium and doing well here to take 8th place, running currently in 8th place in this race. So good stuff for her in the wet. But it's all about Jamie King, Jack Andrews and Cameron Horseman at the moment. Callum Wybrow, does he have any answer to Cameron Horseman? It doesn't look that way. Cameron Horseman has already got a good 3-second lead over Callum Wybrow there. So Cameron Horseman is doing everything he can to catch Jack Andrews. He did a 52.2 on that last lap as opposed to Jack's 53.8. So he's quite a bit quicker than Jack Andrews. So anything can happen here. Jamie King, your race leader, is just beginning his final lap, and Cameron Horseman sets the fastest lap of the race and heads into second place. So Cameron Horseman has caught Jack Andrews and has made his way into second place and has set the fastest lap of the race on the penultimate lap, just for good measure.
Yeah, absolutely so. And one man that also made a position up in that last lap was Will Howarth, jumping up past Callum Wybrow for 4th place, so puts a bit of a gap between himself and Jason Pugh in the 2nd in class in the Moto Team series. So yeah, good results so far for Will, falling back a little bit off the start. Cameron Horseman is really enjoying this late stage, but we're on the last lap, and it's Jamie King that is coming out, and it's going to be Jamie King coming across the line. And what a win, arms up in the air. He knows that he's been the master in the rain this afternoon. What a victory from him. The 76 machine has been absolutely electric in the rain. Cameron Horseman fighting through the field to come home in 2nd. Jack Andrews picks up a podium. Will Howarth, Callum Wybrow come across the line in quick succession. Jason Pugh picks up 2nd in class for the Moto Team. Vince Bailey picks up a first podium in 3rd in the Moto Team class, and then Iona Glover, Roger Monks and Phil Joyce in 10th position.
Yeah, brilliant race for Jamie King, absolutely on fire. See, Cameron Horseman did manage to take a good chunk out of his lead on that last lap, so it would have been interesting to see what Cameron Horseman could have done if he started further up the grid. Obviously he did make his way all the way from the back of the grid up into 2nd place, so a brilliant run from him, and took the fastest lap of the race there as well. So brilliant stuff from Cameron Horseman, brilliant stuff from Jamie King. Jack Andrews will be delighted with the podium as well, the number 114. So yeah, brilliant stuff from them. Will Howarth it was then who extends his championship lead in the Moto Team class. Jason Pugh couldn't quite make it past the number 96. Vince Bailey then also on the podium for the Moto Team.
Yep, absolutely, and it's really nicely done there for Jamie King. You can see dominant victory for him in the rain, 7.728 seconds ahead of Cameron Horseman. Jack Andrews in 3rd position ahead of Will Howarth, who wins the Moto Team class ahead of Callum Wybrow in the PB40 machine. Jason Pugh and Vince Bailey round out the podium for the Moto Team class. Iona Glover back in 8th position on the PB140 machine, with Roger Monks in 9th position. Phil Joyce on the Moto Team comes in 4th in class in the Moto Team bike, and Greg Pym back in 11th as well, with Paul Coombs, and unfortunately I believe Elliot Crosby finished a couple of laps down after that issue we saw earlier on.
Yeah, unfortunate race for Elliot Crosby, but a brilliant race overall for the Pit Bike 140s and Motor Team. Incredibly exciting race for those guys. Next up for us is the MK Gp50s, which we saw a brilliant race earlier on with Mason Foster taking the win in that one. He lines up on pole position for this one, the number 88, and will be looking to pick up another 25 points here.
Yeah, absolutely. Mason Foster has been superb in the weekend so far, round 1 and round 2. Another rider to watch out for is the 66 of Ronnie Harris. He had some lightning starts, and he will be looking at doing so once again in this one. Ethan Sparks will line up in 2nd alongside Mason Foster on the pole. Ronnie Harris starting from the 2nd row of the grid in 3rd, with Samuel Munson in 4th. Ollie Horner is back in 5th position, with Clayton Edmonds, who was enjoying a good run earlier on until a late mistake. He starts in 6th position ahead of the number 100, Cameron Sewell in 7th. Jacob Stevenson in 8th, Harrison McKay in 9th, Blake Wilson in 10th, Warwick Brady in 99 in 11th, Charlie Huntingford 12th, Casey Sperry 13th, Harry Payne 14th, and Philip Syriac in 15th, Ollie Sims in 16th. Ashton Dean and Dominic Gardner cover row 9, and Isaiah Devine back in 19th position on the 10th and final row on the grid.
All these riders then riding the 50cc Metrokit bike, 6-speed gearbox, manual clutch, hydraulic disc brakes for all these riders. This is the first taste they get at a gearboxed bike, having been graduated from the mini moto categories, the AC40 rookies and the AC40 pros that we saw earlier on. So all these guys learning life on a gear bike and learning life on a bike a little bit taller with suspension that they have to move around a little bit more on. All these riders will be running the Mitas wets in this race, so all on one control tyre, so all nice and fair for this race. But like we said then, Mason Foster, the number 88 there, you can see him there just lining up on pole position next to the black bike of Ethan Sparks there with the orange number. Just behind there you can see the number 66, Ronnie Harris. He will be looking to get a good start in this race. You can recognise him from that white bike with the red stripe along the tail and side of that bike, and you see him getting wiped, a bit of a wipe there. Samuel Munson, we see how fast he can be in the dry. Struggled a little bit earlier on in the wet, but you can see him there just lining up the number 72 with the red bike and the fluorescent flash down the middle of his helmet. All these riders then eager to get this race underway and ready for this race to start. You can just see them there all lining up and ready for this one. So 2 races all together after this race, but this is the final race for the MK Gp50s. Their focus is on the flag now as the engine revs rise, and we have a crash off the start there. That's Samuel Munson who's dropped it on the line. Very unfortunate start for Samuel Munson, and the number 146 there also of Clayton Edmonds unfortunately got caught up in that incident and couldn't quite get past the bike lying down on the grid there. But out front then it is Mason Foster who's held on just about to that lead, and Ronnie Harris right on his back. We can see the rapid fulfillment bike there of Warwick Brady, who we saw was so fast earlier on today. He's had a brilliant start and found his way up into 3rd position already. So Warwick Brady, a name that we can really expect to see pushing the front of this race. He's going to want to find a way past the number 66 of Ronnie Harris there, because you can just see there that Mason Foster is getting away there, number 88, with that lovely livery on that bike there.
Yeah, Mason Foster, great start. He's currently got himself a pretty sizable lead as they cross the line behind Ronnie Harris after a good start. Managed to get himself briefly up into the lead of this one, dropped back behind Mason Foster, and he's now trying to fend off Warwick Brady. As you say, was absolutely magnificent in a previous race earlier on in the rain, and he's now looking at Ronnie Harris. You can see closing, not quite close enough into the long hairpin at the back end of the circuit at turn 7. But Ronnie Harris, after a good start, is now starting to struggle a little bit, and it's allowing Mason Foster to make a little bit of a gap between himself and 2nd position. Warwick Brady once again on the pace immediately in this MKGP50 bike and closing in on Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris once again looking at picking up some decent points in the championship, with Mason Foster of course having picked up a couple of race wins so far this weekend. And Mason Foster comes across the line and does a 55.4 and well, a second faster than anyone else. So Mason Foster really enjoying himself out there in this early stages. You can see Ronnie Harris looking behind him briefly just to see where Warwick Brady is. Ethan Sparks is back in 4th place, Harrison McKay in 5th, and Blake Wilson in 6th.
Yeah, you got to think Warwick Brady's going to really be wanting to try and get past Ronnie Harris at the moment and have a go at catching down the number 88 of Mason Foster. Mason Foster setting a superb pace out the front, but Ronnie Harris just struggling to keep on that pace. But we want to see what the number 99 of Warwick Brady can do once he's got some clear air in front of him. Will he be able to catch down Mason Foster, who's currently leading this race? Mason Foster just comes round to lap Samuel Munson there, and that might cost him some time as he has to sit behind him through the 1st sector. Samuel Munson, who we saw unfortunately go down off of the start line. Mason Foster now trying to get underneath Samuel Munson there, just manages to make it happen. Warwick Brady still behind Ronnie Harris at the moment. The number 66 and the number 99 absolutely together at the moment. Ethan Sparks there back in 4th place, just struggling at the moment to stay on the back of these guys, but still a brilliant ride from Ethan in 4th spot.
Yeah, really tricky moment there for Mason Foster as he looked to lap the 72 of Sam Munson, and you can see Sam Munson probably frustrated after that early mistake off the line that dropped him right to the back of the field. And
Ronnie Harris has done a good job now of putting the lapped Sam Munson in between him and Warwick Brady. So he's now bought himself a little bit of breathing space. So will Warwick Brady be able to close that gap back down to Ronnie Harris? We saw how fast he was earlier on in the rain, but just doesn't look like he quite has the blistering pace he had before, although he is right back onto the rear wheel of the number 66 again.
Yeah, absolutely. And what this has done with the Sam Munson being lapped is really hurt Ethan Sparks, who's been caught right behind him. And Sam Munson is in a race of his own at the moment. You can see Ethan Sparks is only just going to be able to clear him now. He must have lost 2, if not more, seconds behind. He's dropped right behind this battle between Ronnie Harris and between Warwick Brady. And Brady's looking to go to the outside and get a good run on Ronnie Harris down the back straight in towards the penultimate corner. He's got a good run, but it's not going to be close enough to get the move done. He's sent it down the inside to some lap traffic. But Ronnie Harris doing a good job at the moment to hold on to position. And we've got a rider down at the moment.
That's
back
the
on
number
the bike.
11. That's Harry Payne that's gone down, but he's rejoining the race. He was enjoying 8th position there. Would have been a good ride from him, but unfortunately crashed out, but he's able to rejoin now.
Yep, but it is still up at the front, Mason Foster, that is doing the job that he was planning to do when he was leading from the front, and he's currently got himself a healthy lead. Ronnie Harris is still doing some brilliant defensive driving to hold off a very fast Warwick Brady.
Yeah, you can see Warwick Brady's looking really desperate to try and get past the number 66 now, trying absolutely everything, trying to go every side of Ronnie Harris at the moment. So I think it's only a matter of time before we see Warwick Brady try and make a move stick on the number 66 on that rapid fulfillment machine there.
We'll see if the lap traffic of the number 90, Ezia Devine, is going to cause any issues. Warwick Brady goes to the outside. They go side by side around the lap traffic. Warwick Brady takes the position. What a move, using the lap traffic to his advantage. Moves up into second place. What a move, opportunistic from Warwick Brady. Getting around the outside, getting a good run into turn 1. And Ronnie Harris now finds himself back down in 3rd place. And with it all to do, with 5 laps left to go in this one.
Now the real question is, what can Warwick Brady do now that he has some clean air in front of him? We've seen how fast he can be earlier on today. Looks like he's already got a bit of breathing space ahead of Ronnie Harris, but can Ronnie Harris respond and go with him? We'll find out. The fastest lap of the race was last time round for the man we're looking at now, number 88, Mason Foster. He's setting a blistering pace at the front of this one and absolutely enjoying life in these wet weather conditions with a hefty lead. 4 laps to go for these guys then, as Mason Foster continues to extend his lead at the front at the moment.
Yeah, Mason Foster really impressive there out on the wet circuit. Warwick Brady, as you say, with a bit of clear air, hasn't managed to drop Ronnie Harris. Ronnie's staying with him and trying to reclaim that second position that he held since the start of the race. But we know that Warwick Brady has got some really good pace in the wet, and he's shown it off already this afternoon in some of the other classes. So yeah, Warwick, you can see just getting a little bit of a better run out of the long hairpin at the back end of the circuit at turn 7, and bridging just a little bit of a gap between himself and Ronnie Harris. He can probably take a little bit of a breather, but the man at the front leading by over 8 seconds is Mason Foster, and yeah, really impressive drive from the young man.
Yeah, well, yeah, such a mature, impressive ride from Foster. He sorted his start out in this race. He got a good start. We saw that he was struggling with those in some of the other races, but got a very good start in this one. He's just weaving his way through some lap traffic now, and absolutely incredibly mature ride from Mason. He's just out the front, hitting all his markers, doing everything correct. He doesn't have to push too hard. He's got an 8.6 second gap now, so all he needs to do is keep it consistent, keep it on the black stuff, and he'll be looking good to take this race win with 2.5 laps to go of this final race for the MK Gp50s. Warwick Brady putting in some really good pace just behind 54.8 on that last lap. Not quite quick enough to catch Mason Foster, and definitely not enough time to catch the number 88, but Warwick Brady doing a good job to distance himself from the number 66 of Ronnie Harris.
Yeah, you can see how wet it is out there. A lot of water on the lens, and it's you can see it's really starting to, or these drivers really starting to acclimatise to it, getting faster and faster. As Mason Foster just cuts through this lap traffic. A nice battle brewing between Blake Wilson and Harrison McKay in 5th and 6th position, but with 2 laps left to go, you can see Mason Foster getting grip on the outside, on the not on the racing line, sweeps around the outside there of some lap traffic, and yeah, Mason Foster just commanding at the front. A 7.8 second gap is what he's maintained over the last few laps, and it's looking as though he will be picking up another race win here in the MK Gp50s. Their final race of the weekend, round 1 and 2, covered here at Lydd in South East Kent. and Mason Foster, I'm sure, will be absolutely delighted with his haul of points as he leaves the southeast of England, and it's looking as though with one lap to go that he's going to extend what is looking like a gap at the top as he picks up another victory to add to his tally that he's already picked up so far this weekend.
One lap to go then for the number 88, and he will take the final race win for the MK Gp50s. Warwick Brady looking comfortable in second, 0.6 of a second ahead of Ronnie Harris, but Ronnie Harris now right on his back wheel, so on this final lap Ronnie Harris could take second place away from the number 99 of Warwick Brady. Mason Foster right out in front and is definitely looking good to take this race win, but some lap traffic now for Warwick Brady and Ronnie Harris to try and get through. Warwick Brady trying to go up the inside there. We didn't quite see how that turned out, but the number 88 of Mason Foster coming into the final corner. Brilliant ride for Mason Foster as he comes to take the checkered flag, and that is the checkered flag for Mason Foster. Number 88 takes the win. Brilliant mature ride from him, absolutely perfect ride from him, and the number 99 there of Warwick Brady does take second place ahead of Ronnie Harris.
Yep. By 0.8 of a second, Warwick Brady does take that second place finish. So, yeah, brilliant move to take second for Warwick Brady, and well deserved. But what a race from Mason Foster. Just controlled it once again from the start, and he takes another race win on the season. Warwick Brady in second. Ronnie Harris picking up another podium this weekend. So he's collecting some podium medals, it seems, and doing a very good job. Ethan Sparks unable to get himself on the podium, but he ends the weekend in a pretty strong fashion, staying in the top 5 for the majority of every race he has entered so far. But it is Mason Foster, your race winner by almost 8 seconds over Warwick Brady. Ronnie Harris, the 66, in third place, with Ethan Sparks in fourth. Harrison McKay managed to hold off Blake Wilson for 5th position. Blake picking up 6th. Clayton Edmonds recovering back to 7th, with Cameron Sewell in 8th. Ollie Sims in 9th, and Harry Payne rounding out the top 10 in the number 11 machine. But it is Mason Foster that, as you say, a very, very mature driver, and what a brilliant way to start his weekend, his season here in 2020, the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship.
Yeah, absolutely incredible from Mason Foster there. Really mature, really impressive, and he picks up 25 points in the final race for the MK Gp50s. Next up onto the track then is the Extreme 200s. Always some exciting racing in this one. Earlier on we saw 6 riders battling it out. Casey O'Gorman took the win earlier on. You could just see him lining up in pit lane just there. 6 British Talent Cup riders, and Casey O'Gorman stumped his authority on all of his British Talent Cup riders earlier on. Will he be able to do the same in this race? Well, he had some great pace at the end of that race, so will be very interesting to see if anyone can try and go with him. He will be starting from pole position. Charlie Nisbet will be absent from this one, still on some marshalling duties for Charlie, so the number 86, after a brilliant day yesterday, opting out of the wet conditions today. Cameron Horseman is set to be lining up in third place. The number 93 you can just see coming out there, that's Harrison Crosby. Number 43, that's Ryan Hitchcock, who we saw earlier on take the win and absolutely dominate the LC40 Elite race. So we'll see what he can do in this one. There is the camera's just on him for a second there. So Ryan Hitchcock, the number 43. There is Harvey Claridge as well, also competing in this race, and the number 8 of Eddie O'Shea. So quite a few BSB riders in on this grid. Extreme 200s, essentially a pit bike race that's more of an open class. Yeah, absolutely so, and they put on a great show earlier this afternoon with their second race in the rain, but it was the best, or effectively the best of the British Talent Cup out on circuit today. So yeah, and they're doing a great job promoting themselves and of course promoting FAB-Racing. They come up to line up on the grid, and thank you to everyone that is watching back at home on fab-racing.co.uk, of course on FAB-Racing's YouTube and Facebook channels, and of course if you're listening live on motorsport.radio, you can follow us
all day long until the final race in just coming up after this. So the MK Gp50s will be after this final race for the Extreme 200s, and they complete their third and final race of the weekend, 6 in total this would have been. So a lot of work for a lot of these riders out there, and Casey O'Gorman will be hoping on adding another winning medal to the tally that he has been accumulating over the weekend, and putting in some incredibly impressive rides. And Casey is once again looking and shaping up to pick up a decent haul of points, and everyone's starting to look to the lights, but it looks like we've got a rider just coming up to the back end of the
that's
field now.
Cameron Horseman, just slightly late to the grid there. We've got a grid full of British Talent Cup riders, but just coming to join the grid is a British Talent Cup graduate. Cameron Horseman, runner-up last year in the British Talent Cup and running in the GP2 class this year. He joins onto the back of the grid, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. All eyes to the flag now as Casey O'Gorman gets a good start off of the line there. You can see the number 93 there of Harrison Crosby, also very aggressive on the inside. Cameron Horseman is further back in on that grid. So there it is. Casey O'Gorman leading on this opening lap here at the moment. Just having a look at the number 93 of Harrison Crosby there. He's having a good race at the moment. Eddie O'Shea up into second place at the moment. Does he have the pace to go with Casey O'Gorman? He's right on his rear wheel at the moment, so no breathing space for Casey at the moment. What can Eddie O'Shea do about the flying youngster Casey O'Gorman as they head down into the final corner for the first time? You can see there Cameron Horseman further back, and Harvey Claridge with the British Talent Cup leathers there in fourth place, also looking menacing. We saw how fast he was earlier on, but Eddie O'Shea is who's fastest on circuit at the moment. Casey O'Gorman it is that leads though, so what can Eddie O'Shea do about the pocket rocket Casey O'Gorman?
Absolutely, Casey getting a good start, but not dropping the rest of the field. Eddie O'Shea, Harrison Crosby and Harvey Claridge all going with him. So Casey needs to get a shift on if he's to break away from Eddie O'Shea, who's had a good start.
And I think he's listening to, because it looks as if he's just stretching out that gap at the front there. A little bit of breathing space now for Casey O'Gorman. Can Eddie O'Shea respond? Yeah,
absolutely. As you can see, Eddie O'Shea still staying with Casey O'Gorman. So Casey not making that breakaway that we thought he might have done, that he did in race 2. Eddie O'Shea with a good race so far, holding on to Casey O'Gorman, so showing some really nice pace late in the weekend here from Eddie O'Shea, the number 8 machine, and he is currently on a little bit of a mini breakaway with Casey O'Gorman. They started to pull away from Harrison Crosby and Harvey Claridge, who are having a nice little battle between themselves for third on the in the field, and it is currently the 93 Harrison Crosby holding on to third, Harvey Claridge back in fourth position, Bailey Stewart Campbell a little bit further back from them, whilst Ryan Hitchcock and Cameron Horseman down in 6th and 7th.
Yeah, Harvey Claridge just making a move at the inside for third place there, so that's Harvey Claridge with both knee sliders still on at the moment. Hopefully he's got some better chewing gum to stick those on now then. So that's Harvey Claridge up into third spot now, so let's see what he can do. Can he catch the likes of Eddie O'Shea and Casey O'Gorman as they come across the line? Casey O'Gorman not completely running away with this one. Eddie O'Shea just about hanging on to Casey's coattails at the moment, just proving that he has what it takes to stick with the pocket rocket at the moment. As we just look at Eddie O'Shea there, the number 8, doing everything he can to stay on the back of Casey O'Gorman. 0.7 of a second it was over the line. It looks like Casey's just stretching that out even further, but Harvey Claridge just behind them, looking very menacing indeed. We can see, have to see what he can do with both knee sliders in this race.
Yeah, absolutely, and Casey setting a purple lap last time round of 49.2, 0.2 of a second faster than Eddie O'Shea, and you can see the gap is just being extended a little bit. Eddie O'Shea just dropping back from the rear tyre of Casey O'Gorman as they come across the line with 6 laps left to go in this one. Casey O'Gorman is doing a brilliant job as he does another fastest lap there, 48.4, 0.4 of a second faster than Eddie O'Shea. In fact, Harvey Claridge doing a faster lap there from Eddie O'Shea, so Harvey Claridge will be looking at closing in that slight gap. He's got just under 2 seconds between himself and Eddie O'Shea, but this is a good showing from Eddie O'Shea, pushing Casey early on and holding on to a decent podium.
Yeah, absolutely, brilliant ride from Eddie O'Shea, trying to hang on to Casey at the moment. Harvey Claridge, we saw him climbing up earlier on today. So 48.6 on that last lap. He's got a good pace, and as this race settles, I'm sure he'll be able to find even more. 6 laps to go of this one, so plenty of time for Harvey to catch Eddie O'Shea, and plenty of time for Eddie O'Shea to respond to the pace of Casey O'Gorman. But Casey O'Gorman on that last lap of 48.3 sets the fastest lap of the race, just to prove he is the fastest on circuit at this point in time. Eddie O'Shea 49 flat on that last lap, so Harvey Claridge managed to close in by 0.4 of a second on that last lap, so we could see Harvey Claridge threatening Eddie O'Shea for second place at the moment. As we just look at Harrison Crosby there, the number 93 in 4th place. He's currently protecting 4th place from the number 99 just behind him of Bailey Stewart Campbell.
Yep, the battle for 4th on track at the moment, with the 172 Casey O'Gorman leading from the 8 of Eddie O'Shea. Harvey Claridge holding on to 3rd and trying to close in. The gap's now 1.5 seconds. Does it close down? It's now down to 1 second between Harvey Claridge. He goes purple at 48.1 for Harvey Claridge, so going faster there than Casey O'Gorman, who's leading this race. So the gap is coming down between Harvey Claridge and Eddie O'Shea. He's looking at closing in with 4 laps left to go. Harrison Crosby and Bailey Stewart Campbell still fighting out on circuit over 4th place, and you can see Harrison just putting his bike in all the right places and making it incredibly hard for Bailey to find any place to put that bike to get the move up into 4th place. Bailey gets a good run out of the long hairpin, but once again Harrison on the power early holds on to 4th place. But Harvey Claridge once again still closing in on Eddie O'Shea, going purple, and I'm sure you can see he's having his down.
That's a rider down. Was that the number 93 of Harrison? I believe that's number 19. That is Bailey Stewart Campbell that's gone down there. He was trying to find a way through on Harrison Crosby, but unfortunately just lost it at turn 12, as we've seen many riders do. But now, looking back at the front here, Harvey Claridge is right on the rear wheel of Eddie O'Shea there, so we wondered if he could do it. Well, he's done it with 3 laps to go. Now the challenge for Harvey Claridge is getting past Eddie O'Shea. He's got 2.5 laps to do it, and he'll be on for second place in this race.
Yeah, absolutely, and the fight is well and truly on for second between Eddie O'Shea and Harvey Claridge, with 3 laps left to go. That turns into 2 as Casey O'Gorman crosses the line, and it is going to be Harvey Claridge that takes the lead. Got up the inside into penultimate corner, taking second place. So Harvey Claridge using this late fast pace in this race, moving up. Eddie O'Shea doesn't seem to have anything to come back at him with. He was going with Casey O'Gorman earlier on, but unfortunately falling back with pace, but still holding on to the podium. Harrison Crosby in 4th place. Ryan Hitchcock now up to 5th with Bailey Stewart Campbell unfortunately falling down after that fall at the dreaded turn 12, which we've seen so many riders suffer with over the last 2 days. But it is currently Casey O'Gorman, as he comes on to the last lap, that's leading by a comfortable 3-second margin over Harvey Claridge, who's doing a great job to put the pressure on late on. You can see he's gone purple once again, a 47.8 there for Harvey Claridge. He's really lighting up the times in this late stage of the race, but it looks as though with a 2.5 second gap that Casey O'Gorman is going to hold on to this one, but Harvey Claridge is doing all he can. Eddie O'Shea doesn't have anything to come back at him with. It was a second faster there for Harvey Claridge as they exit the long hairpin, coming into the double right-hander and then sweep around turn 11 into the turn 12 corner. That's caught out so many riders, but it looks as though Casey gets around it. He's now just going to blast down the back straight for the final time of the weekend and enter into the final 2 corners. Casey O'Gorman comes around the final corner. He's going to take the checkered flag and the win once again in the Extreme 200s. Behind him is Harvey Claridge. A brilliant race for him. He takes second ahead of Eddie O'Shea on the podium. Harrison Crosby is currently ahead of Ryan Hitchcock, and they are coming up to the final corners now, and it looks like Harrison Crosby might be taking that 4th place, and Ryan Hitchcock and Cameron Horseman in 5th and 6th, as Harrison does come across the line in 4th. Ryan Hitchcock in 5th, and Cameron Horseman a little bit further back in 6th position. Unfortunately, we lost Bailey Stewart Campbell, but another brilliant race there for Casey O'Gorman.
Yeah, very well controlled race at the front for Casey. He got right at the front and then kept extending his lead and then kept to the control of it right at the end. Unfortunately for Harvey Claridge, he just ran out of laps there, was closing down your leader Casey O'Gorman, but didn't quite have enough laps to have a go at making a move. Eddie O'Shea, brilliant podium for him, ahead of Harrison Crosby, number 93. Ryan Hitchcock, who we saw do very well in the LC40 Elites earlier on, he took 5th spot, and Karen Horseman, the number 72, took 6th. Unfortunately, Bailey Stewart Campbell didn't finish the race, the number 99. He went down at turn 12, so unfortunate for him, but a brilliant ride from Casey O'Gorman, Harvey Claridge and Eddie O'Shea. Casey O'Gorman, of course, a quick racing pit stop for him as he transitions from the Extreme 200 to the MK Gp50s. He'll be looking to pick up another win in that for us today, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Casey just jumping off the Extreme 200 bike, getting ready to jump onto the MK Gp70 and take the fight once again to the likes of Johnny Garness and Lucas Brown, who had a brilliant race too and picked up the win in that one, and Lucas holding off Casey O'Gorman in the final stages. So Lucas has got to have his hopes up for possibly a second win and finishing off the weekend in perfect style for him, closing that points gap between himself and Johnny Garness.
Yeah, what an exciting race that was. We saw Lucas Brown did really well to hold on at the end of that race. Casey O'Gorman led, crashed, fought his way back up through the field, but didn't quite have an answer for Lucas Brown, who set the fastest lap of the race right at the end there. And there you can see the number 172 of Casey O'Gorman swapping bikes, getting that MK GP70 bike started and ready for this race. He's stopping there to practice a race start, making sure his race starts are still brilliant, which we've seen as some really good starts from Casey on this MK GP70 grid, and he's going to need one to get past the number 57 of Johnny Garness. We saw at the end Johnny Garness had some brilliant pace in the wet. It took him a while to get used to the wet conditions, but he did manage to get through and find where that grip was, and picked up some good points, did Johnny Garness. So Casey O'Gorman is going to need that good start to get past Johnny Garness, but Lucas Brown will be looking to repeat his performance from race 1.
Yeah, absolutely, and watch out for the number 88 Mason Foster lining up in 5th position. Of course, very successful just a few races ago and running away with it, so he's seemingly enjoying this slightly slipperier, greasier track surface with the puddles and of course all the standing water. Mason Foster will be looking at picking up a podium to end his weekend, but it's going to be hopefully a great end to the weekend. We've seen so far 47 of 48 races, a bumper action-packed weekend here at Lydd to open the 2020 FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships, and it's going to be Johnny Garness on pole with Casey O'Gorman lining up alongside with Lucas Brown, Josh Bannister and Mason Foster. This is the last round of the weekend, so let's get ready to go as the riders look to the lights and get ready to kick us off for the final time this weekend. It's Johnny Garness on pole, and off the line you can see Lucas Brown once again with a good start, but around the outside goes Casey O'Gorman. There's contact, down goes one of the... Is that Lucas
That's
Brown?
Lucas Brown down at the first corner. Yeah, Lucas Brown, bike in the middle of the circuit. He's trying to get that bike picked up and rejoin this race. Really unfortunate scenes for race winner earlier on today. He's turning that bike around. Very unfortunate for Lucas Brown. Earlier he won the race earlier on, did a brilliant performance, but there we can see Mason Foster cutting underneath the number 2 there of Josh Bannister. Mason Foster, we saw, was really quick in the wet earlier on today on the MK Gp50 machine, so we'll see how he copes with the extra power on the MK Gp70 at the moment, but it's Casey O'Gorman who's absolutely blitzed it at the front. He's already got a mammoth lead as we come onto the start-finish straight for the first time of asking. Casey O'Gorman, brilliant stuff from him, 54.7 off of the line, absolutely tremendous lap, 4-second lead already. Just looks like Johnny Garness is really struggling to find the grip at the moment. We saw he struggled early on in the race last time, but the grip came to him as the race went on. But now he's coming under threat from Mason Foster, who we saw and know is really good in the wet around this Lydd circuit.
Absolutely. The red and yellow striped flag out at the start-finish line, telling the riders that there is possibly a slip hazard, a greasy circuit with possibly some oil or fuel dropped by Lucas Brown's bike after contact between himself or between himself and another rider into turn 2 that dropped Lucas Brown to the back of this field. And but it is Casey O'Gorman lighting up the timesheets, a 54.7 on that last lap compared to Johnny Garness's 57.7. So Casey straight off those Extreme 200, straight onto the MK Gp50s, and absolutely running away with it. Mason Foster up into second, now beats Casey O'Gorman's time of 53.6. So Mason Foster hasn't slowed down at all, and it's really starting to close up. Johnny Garness dropping down to the third, Harrison McKay in fourth, Josh Bannister now in fifth, but the gaps between the pair of them, Casey O'Gorman did a 53.678, Mason Foster a 53.677, so those two matching each other almost equally for pace with 10 laps left to go.
Yeah, 10 laps left to go of this race here today. But with 10 laps left to go, anything can happen for these riders. But with a 4.2 second lead and Casey and Mason setting similar pace, it's going to be really hard for Mason to close down that lead. And then there you go, Casey O'Gorman 52.9, but Mason Foster 51.4. Absolutely destroying anyone else's lap times, and is good second and a half quicker than the pocket rocket Casey O'Gorman at the moment. So Mason Foster doing a good job to close down that lead. It was 4.2 seconds last time over the line, but now it's down to 2.7. So Mason Foster absolutely on a charge. He won earlier on in the MK Gp50s, and he's looking to close down Casey O'Gorman for a win today in the MK Gp70s. So brilliant stuff. We wondered how he would cope with the extra power in that 70cc machine. Well, he's coping pretty well because it's the fastest on circuit by a good second and a half at the moment.
Yeah, so much confidence in the bike, Mason Foster, and you can see on an absolute charge, and he's trying to close in on Casey O'Gorman, who's got a lead at the moment. It's going to be whittled right down as they come across the line. It's now only 9/10 of a second. Mason Foster is on fire in this one. 8 laps left to go, and he's closing in on Casey O'Gorman. Is Casey starting to suffer with some race fatigue after being involved with so many races this weekend? Mason Foster, he's had a little bit of a break in between his MK Gp50s and the Gp70s, and he's really starting to put you a last lap of a 51.2. Once again, 8/10 of a second faster than Casey O'Gorman. So look how close it's getting between the pair of them, and you can see Casey O'Gorman is going to start to come under real pressure soon from Mason Foster.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from the number 88, just closing down your race leader Casey O'Gorman as they head into the final corner one more time, come across the line. Casey O'Gorman then it still is that leads this race. Well, Mason Foster, I thought we were missing Casey O'Gorman, and I believe we have. So Mason Foster is leading this race. What has happened to Casey O'Gorman? He's gone missing, and we haven't quite seen what's happened to him. So Mason Foster then, there he is, the number 172 Casey O'Gorman out of this race. Looks like a technical issue. No, there's some scrapes on the side of the bike. Yeah, so did he go down? He looks like they're trying to get the bike back up and running so he can restart. He crashed earlier on today in the MK Gp70 race, possibly a crash here, but we can't know for certain at the moment. Mason Foster then is that leads from Johnny Garness. 6.5 second lead he has over the number 57. So Mason Foster with 7 laps to go, looking in a pretty comfortable place. Johnny Garness finally getting up to speed in the wet in this race, the number 57. This race, the second place, will do really well for him in the championship. Mason Foster not massively high in the championship for this championship, so not a massive championship threat at the moment, but the season is long and anything can happen. But the number 88 of Mason Foster is definitely finding some real good grip here in the wet on this Lydd hill, the Lydd circuit.
Yeah, and this is something we were talking about just after the break at lunch, and it was which one of these riders can really become more adept at riding in the rain, and Mason Foster is one of those. He's really seemingly enjoying this wet track surface, and he was taking it to Casey O'Gorman, and possibly even getting in the eyesight of Casey as he looked behind him, and maybe we'll find out if Casey went down, because Mason was starting to really put pressure on him. So Mason is doing a stellar job out there. The number 88 currently leading by a decent margin to Johnny Garness. Johnny Garness still picking up some decent points, looking at building that championship lead, but look at that. Last time round, Mason Foster a 51, Johnny Garness a 53. Everyone else a second to a second and a half slower than Mason Foster.
Yeah, Johnny Garness is going to have to be really careful here as well, because Harrison McKay behind him is setting a good pace as well. Not quite quick enough at the moment to catch Johnny Garness, but he just needs to watch that 4 laps left of this race, so anything can happen there. As we just look at the battle further back, there's Josh Bannister in your picture, and now there's the 146 there of Clayton Edmonds in 6th place, so battles going on all through the field at the moment. There we see Johnny Garness coming through turn 12, and Harrison McKay and the number 2 of Josh Bannister, who's on an absolute charge at the moment. He's taken third place away from Harrison McKay. So Josh Bannister finally finding some luck onto the podium. We saw him take 2nd place in the minis race earlier on, and now up into 3rd place in this MK GP70 race. So Josh's weekend turning around towards the end of this weekend.
Yeah, and possibly just give him a little bit of a lift going into round 3 coming up in a few weeks' time. 3 laps left to go for Mason Foster to pick up an absolutely well-deserved, because even with Casey O'Gorman going down in this one and retiring, Mason Foster, you can see, has just been on another level. He's been so much faster than everyone else currently circulating behind. You can see there he goes across the line. There's a 50.5 for Mason Foster. He is still putting a charge on out there, and he's on an absolute tear. He's in a class of his own in the out front, and that's not bothering him at all. He's just going at it. He's just trying to put in as fast laps as possible. He's 2.5 seconds faster than anyone else on circuit at the moment. He's built that lead now up to almost 15 seconds.
Oh, what an incredible ride from Mason Foster. To be honest, with 2 laps to go, he doesn't need to be 2.5 seconds faster than anyone else. He can just calm it down now and make sure he finishes the race safely. As I'm sure his family are having kittens watching him go around so much faster than everyone else at the moment. But Johnny Garness looking in a safe 2nd place, but Josh Bannister is all over the back of him now. So last lap just being started by Mason Foster, but these two, Johnny Garness and Josh Bannister, fighting it out as they go on to start this last lap. Then here he is, then the number 88, Mason Foster, making his way around this final lap of the final race here at the Lydd circuit on the southeast coast of England. Brilliant stuff from Mason Foster as he gets through here. This will be his first win in the MK GP70 class this year as he makes his way through turn 12 onto the back straight, and a massive moment for the number 88 of Mason Foster. He's won the MK GP50 race. He's won and he's coming round to win the MK GP70 race. He comes and takes the flag. Brilliant result for Mason Foster. He takes the win, a hefty 50.7 on that last lap. A brilliant last lap. Still a good 2.5 seconds faster than anyone else. But who is it that's going to take 2nd place? Will it be Josh Bannister, or will it be the number 57 of Johnny Garness? Johnny Garness needs every point he can get now. Johnny Garness takes 2nd place ahead of Josh Bannister. Josh Bannister seemed to have dropped back a little bit on that last lap, so something possibly may have happened there for Josh, unfortunately for him, but he will be happy to take 3rd place. Brilliant end to the weekend for him, and a brilliant end to the weekend for FAB-Racing. Some fantastic racing here today. Brilliant stuff. And Lucas Brown there just crosses the line in 7th place. You can just see the number 172, Casey O'Gorman. Brilliant weekend for him. Unfortunate end crashing out of this one, but he's taken plenty of wins and plenty of 2nd places, so I'm sure he can go home with a smile on his face. Lucas Brown there, you can see, unfortunately crashing out earlier this race, but yeah, brilliant end to the weekend here at FAB-Racing.
So it is Mason Foster that takes the victory in the final race of the day, the MK GP70 class. Mammoth 18 seconds ahead of Johnny Garness. Josh Bannister is in 3rd place with Harrison McKay in 4th. Ben Jolliffe coming home 5th with Clayton Edmonds in 6th. Lucas Brown recovering back to 7th with Holly Harris in 8th. Greg Marshall is in 9th. And Casey O'Gorman, unfortunately, Felix Dorling retiring from that one. Mason Foster, this is how consistent he was. In the final 3 laps of that race, his lap times, well, the 3 laps before the end was 50.5. his penultimate lap and his final lap were 1,000th of a second different. So Mason Foster absolutely dominating that. Unfortunately for Casey O'Gorman, not able to make the finish, but Mason Foster a really, really well-deserving winner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mason Foster closed right in on Casey. Unfortunate for Casey to not to finish that one, because it would have been good to see what he could have done against the pace of Mason Foster. Right at the end there, Mason Foster was pushing really hard. He didn't really need to be pushing that hard because he had a hefty lead, 18 seconds it was in the end, but managed to take that win and has really finished this weekend on a high for him, taking a win in the MK Gp50s and a win in the Gp70s. So a brilliant way to finish this weekend off for FAB-Racing and also for Mason Foster.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's been an absolutely brilliant first 2 rounds to the season here for the FAB-Racing 2020 Minibike British Championships from Lydd. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, whether at the paddock, whether watching online, of course, at FAB-Racing and all their social media channels. Thank you for getting involved and commenting, and hopefully we will see you very, very shortly. A huge thank you to everyone for supporting in the paddock, from the medics to the marshals to the cameramen, to everyone getting involved to make sure that these 2 rounds have gone absolutely swimmingly. So yeah, a huge round of applause to all those people, and hopefully you will all join us in a few shorts week at Clay Pigeon. And yeah, Tristan, first weekend done, round 1 and round 2 finished for these guys. How's it been?
Incredibly exciting. I mean, almost every race was absolutely brilliant. We saw some exciting racing in every class. We saw some BSB riders, British Talent Cup riders, and absolutely really exciting stuff. And we even got to see some wet weather racing at the end of the weekend. So yeah, this weekend had absolutely everything, and I hope the rest of the season will be just the same. Yeah, absolutely so. And you can join us in 2 weeks' time in Clay Pigeon in Dorset for round 3 of the season. Of course, streaming live on FAB-Racing, and of course go to FAB-Racing's YouTube channel and all of their Twitter or YouTube channel, and of course their Facebook to watch the live stream back. And of course, if you're listening live on motorsport.radio, where you can find clips and highlights from the whole event, and of course a interview with yourself and Tommy Bridewell, which will be coming up very shortly after the event this afternoon. So thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you tune in to Motorsport Radio especially for the breakfast show every single morning with Lester Forbes. So yeah, it's going to be a brilliant season. What a way to start it, with an action-packed first weekend here. Wet, dry, it's all been brilliant. And you can join myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchiaro for the rest of the season. And we will be bringing you wall-to-wall action here from FAB-Racing. But thank you very much for joining us, whether here in Lydd or at home. We will see you very, very shortly, bringing you some more superb on-track action from FAB-Racing. Have a very good evening. Goodbye.